Radiant is not the highest rank in Valorant. That title actually belongs to something called Invite, and over the past 4 months, I have been competing and documenting my path to this elusive rank. This video is the culmination of my entire Premier series, spanning over 8 different videos. So, let's get straight into week 1. For this season of Premier, I am playing with the Aquarium. Who is that, you may ask? Well, I'll go into details on each player later. What you need to know now is that this team is compiled of the best players from SATE and UFC. Now, it's time to explain the comp we ran, because it's a little odd. The first agent we picked was Viper. With her ability to anchor B on defense, and the fact that she's the only agent who can consistently pressure A short all by herself, she was the obvious first pick. Second, we picked Waylay. Most teams run arrays here, but we decided on Waylay for one main reason. We wanted a comp that could have strong fakes by creating deep pressure onto sites. This will make more sense once you've seen the rest of the comp. Third, we picked Clove. As crazy as that sounds, it actually makes a lot of sense when you think about how our comp played out. On attack, if we decided we wanted to fake B, our Clove could stay on the A side of the map, and even if she got pushed and died, we'd still have smokes for when we actually hit site. And on defense, she would be our A side anchor, as she could still smoke the entire map from U-Haul, and no matter what, we would always have smokes on our A retakes, even if she died. Fourth, we picked Skye, the agent I will be playing. We considered Fade, but with the new 60-second cooldown, we realized that Skye can actually gather a similar amount of info throughout the round. And at the same time, Skye was a little more versatile as she provided us with flashes, which are generally super helpful in taking fights. Something unusual that was considered was her heal. Seeing as Raze is so popular on this map, it'd be safe to assume that players would take a lot of chip damage. This means that Skye's heal could actually come in handy a lot more often than normal. Skye was also really good for our fakes, as her flash could be used to blind certain enemy positions, like flashing back sight with Waylay dashing on top of the boxes. But what about angles she couldn't flash? Like Cubby. If a player was sitting here, our Waylay would have no choice but to teleport away, making the fake less effective, unless you have our final agent, Tejo. With his guided salvos being so strong, we could cover for the gaps that Skye's flash couldn't hit. And on top of all of that, we now had another form of info gathering in the drone. This comp excels at fakes, traps, and refighting space. So with the start of game 1, we noticed that our first opponent had a very annoying agent, Chamber. With the general lack of utility in the game right now, Chamber kinda got indirectly buffed. With our playstyle of heavy faking, we would need to make it a priority to find Chamber and push him off his line. Otherwise, he would gather far too much info, rendering our fakes completely useless. We start off with a B long default, pushing Chamber off his line. After we take long, we leave Tejo so we have info if the enemy tries to re-clear, as me and Waylay walk back to short for a simple A hit. Once we're in position, our Tejo will take the teleport and use his drone to clear showers while the rest of us hit through short. With the power of the newly buffed Spectre, I was able to clean up for round 2. And now that we're on a bonus round, we want to use a play that was designed to force our enemy into an unfavorable fight in showers. I'll use my flash around this corner at the start of the round to blind any opponent who is going to peek. My Waylay will then dash up to punish any blind opponents. But what if they just run away? Well, that's where the final piece of our play comes in. Our Tejo will send a guided missile behind the enemy, so if the enemy decides to try and run away, our missile will catch them, ensuring we get the kill one way or another. Off the back of that massive double kill, we are able to secure the bonus round, giving ourselves a huge advantage. With the score now at 4-1, a few trades go back and forth, and we now have the A site for free. My IGL makes the call to use our Viper's Pit back site and flip the map, but I have a different plan. Seeing as the enemy will be focused on our ult and spawn, I decide to back all the way up into this cubby to try and catch any opponent on the flank. And while I sit here, Chamber walks right into my sights, and I pull out my knife for an execution. But was this a good play? Yes, but I shouldn't have done it in this round. You see, in a 4 versus 3 post plant where we have our Viper ult down, I should be playing with the team. We have no reason to go for any hero plays, since the option of all 4 of us playing inside the pit is simply safer. Had this been a 3 versus 3, or especially if we were down a player, I think this was the right move, as it was extremely unexpected. And in a different scenario, it could have won us a round all on its own. One of the unique strengths of combining Tejo and Skye is that you're able to flush players out into the open with Tejo's missile and ult, which makes Skye's flash more likely to connect, as players will run out of their hiding spots looking toward the smoke. Our lead is looking good, and we end up in a 3 versus 2. But in this round, I call for my Tejo to fight. After he gets killed, I run across in an attempt to catch the Chamber, but I end up going into a smoke for safety. It's now a 2 versus 1, but the enemy has smoked the bomb. Luckily, they don't have a lot of time.
Enemy remaining.
Oh my god! No.
After such a ludicrous clutch, surely nothing like that could happen again, right? It's the very next round, and we are in a 2 versus 4, and my Waylay is one shot. As my Waylay gets the bomb down, I start to heal him to full HP. We know that we must take a fight if we want to win this round. So after I finish healing my teammate, I call my flash, and we fight.
Flashing backside, flashing backside. 3, 2, 1, pop.
1 enemy remaining.
Nice.
Now that it's a 2 versus 1, we group up into U-Haul and win the round, bringing the half to a 9-3 finish. It's now the pistol round of the second half, and we go for a triple walkdown short. After seeing no one, we use our clove smoke to cover the chamber's tripwire, which gets us a free kill on the Viper. We then fight from hookah on the enemy hit, but I see that my clove is flanking from long. Seeing as that my clove is now the new win condition, I elect to use my flashes for stall and stay tucked. And the moment my clove gets up to long, I jump out of hookah to pull the enemy crosshairs and we win the round. But right after, I would make a major mistake that would cost us our anti-eco round. The enemy has taken A, and they've pushed our spawn. I managed to kill 2, but more importantly, the bomb is now down. So what do? I run heaven, giving the bomb up for no reason. The enemy would then plant B site, and I would lose the round. That one play didn't define this game, however. In fact, if I could describe this game in one word, it would be consistent. I was hitting my shots whenever I got into a fight. My movement was clean, making me a harder target to hit, and I was hitting pre-fires when I knew my enemy was peeking me. All in all, I was doing my job. So when the game ended 13-5, I didn't feel like it was off the back of any crazy performance. I finished with 22 kills, 11 deaths, and 10 assists. A strong showing for my first game on the flex roll, and we would start off our premier season 1-0. After every game finished up, we were placed 6th overall. Not a bad start, but our next opponent would be another team that won their first game, so we knew that our opponent wasn't going to be bad. So you can imagine my surprise when our opponent ran an Astra, Neon, Sage, Viper of course, and Sova. Clearly it worked for them in their last game, but this comp is very confusing. On defense, they do have a very strong stall comp, so rushing is out of the picture. But seeing as our offensive playstyle relies heavily on fakes, we should be okay on attack. For the first round of this game, however, we decided not to do a long fake for the pistol. We were concerned that our opponent would run it down B long, so we decided to start A instead, and we'd end up taking an empty site before cleaning up the round. For the anti-eco round, we 4-man long to take advantage of our superior weapons, and we go for a simple execute.
Watch out, 3, 2, 1. Mine close.
That was Tuka guy.
Backside. He's out.
With this third kill on Neon secured, I realized that I am extremely close to getting my ult online. My teammates run at the enemy, baiting to ensure that I got the kill, though I definitely looked at my minimap here.
I'll dash for you.
I'm running away from them.
We are once again on our bonus round, so we go for the exact same play. Missile the enemy escape, flash around the corner, dash up to kill any trapped players. It worked last game, so why not do it again?
Blinded. Nice.
It worked perfectly. Now that it's a 5v3, I grab the orb and pop it immediately. This might look a little overkill at first glance, but when you consider that this is our bonus round, and winning it would mean putting our enemy's economy on the back foot, it suddenly seems like a worthwhile investment. And in this case, it would help us win the very next round, getting us a 4-round lead to start off. This doesn't just mean that we're closer to winning, it also serves as a confidence boost. Like in round 6, when 2 players on the enemy team teleport, we don't hesitate to just flip the map, even when it's not clean like this.
Fight backside, there's only one guy. That upper.
Yeah, flashing 3, 2, 1.
Our comp is specially designed to make people in corners suffer, but in round 7, we end up getting majorly punished by a Neon sitting in hookah. So what went wrong here? You see, when I used my Skydog, the enemy Viper shot it before I could clear anything. This should have raised a major red flag, as it was pretty clear she was baiting for a teammate. In this situation, our protocol should have been to wait a second, send a missile into the left corner, a sky flash up into the same spot, and our Waylay uses her saturate on the right before dashing to try and kill the Viper. All the while, I make sure I clean up any players who may have been sitting in that corner. After this round, we both trade thrifties. First, our extremity players secure 2 massive picks, and we use our Viper's pit to secure the round. But right after, we end up in a 3 versus 3.
Yo, can we flip on the CT? Get close on CT. Get close on CT.
Yeah.
Ready? Flash 3, 2, 1.
Close. He's blind.
Last player standing.
In CT. Stun, has no stun.
Spike planted.
Sure.
Rounds bounce back and forth, and it's now the last round of the half. I sit in this corner, waiting for my clove smoke to come back online. The moment it gets placed, I get close to the smoke to try and catch the Neon as she swings out. But my plan changes in the moment as I hear the Neon reload after spamming his gun.
One enemy remaining.
It's now the defensive half, and we decided on a triple walk short, but it was super disjointed, and we are now on an eco. So, imagine the enemy's surprise when we decided to go for another short push. Only difference, we're going to use utility. Our Clove will place her smoke short, and we will all walk inside it. On my count, we will double missile, flash, and fight out of the smoke.
He's right. Ready? 3, 2.
Oh. Unfortunately, the Viper only had a Sheriff, so converting this round wouldn't be easy, but it wouldn't be impossible either.
Let's go. In. I'm just holding in this.
I'll go.
Hey, Tyler! Yes, sir!
We win the eco round, but there was more to that than what meets the eye. Remember the smoke that we used to fight short? Well, we place it again. This is because we want to condition our opponent. Viper just got nuked in short, and seeing as she probably doesn't want that to happen again, she only really has two options. One is to play super passive in A short to ensure that we can't trap her, or two, she'll call for backup, and the enemy will fight it as a team. This means we can safely assume that Viper is not lurking in the early round, and if there's a lot of pressure into A short, it likely means that the majority of the enemy team is there. This will allow us to rotate early, and although this info is technically just a guess, it isn't without reason, and in this round, the enemy put 4 players short, so it worked, and we won the round as a result.
So 3, 2. Nice, boy.
We would take a commanding lead, winning rounds off the back of guns like the Stinger, and even winning when my aim looked like this.
3, 2, 1.
How wide?
Oh my god, we're big.
This big lead quickly begins to fade, and the enemy is making a comeback. Keep in mind, we were up by 5 rounds at one point, so with the score at 12 to 11, we take a timeout. Here's the basic plan. We are going to retake both sides of the map. To start off the round, I am going to be in long to break Sova's dart. This pressure should make the enemy use utility into long, and I will then back up into CT. If we begin to lose info in the round, I will use my Sky Flash to get us a clearer picture of the map.
Could be A or could be.
Nothing was B long. Nothing was long.
With 20 seconds, the enemy looks to be hitting A, but last second, they reveal it was a fake.
Long B, long B,
You
long
want
B.
to find it?
We can stall plant.
Okay, one's up.
Viper had stayed, but I was luckily able to convert the kill with my Spectre, giving me a crucial upgrade. It's now a 4 versus 3 retake, and I have one crucial ability. We've got one chance to make this retake work. Otherwise, we will be going to overtime.
I stunned. Ready to flash out. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Pop. Blinded.
Hookah still. Nice.
Nice!
Oh. We win our second map, and I finished this game with 20 kills, 17 deaths, and 15 assists. With our unique bind comp, we managed to go undefeated in week 1, placing us in 8th overall. Abyss is a unique map as it is one of the largest in the game, so the comp we ran would need to keep that in mind the entire time. The first agent we picked was Astra. As the only controller who can smoke all of Abyss regardless of where she played, she felt like a no-brainer. On top of that, with the B side of Abyss having such long sightlines for the post plant, Astra's gravity well was even more important for stopping the defuse, as post plants were just stronger in general. And for that exact reason, her ult was extremely useful for our own retakes as it made defusing incredibly easy. Second, we picked Harbor. He recently got a rework, so I'm not going to go in depth as to why we ran him, but the basic idea was that he had the most smokes in the game, and on a map as big as Abyss, he was actually the only agent who could smoke all of B. Third, we picked Sova. With how far his recon could be thrown, he was the only agent who can gather enough info on such a big map. And the fact that his drone is the only one in the game without some sort of limited vision, he was the only agent who could realistically gather us enough information on sites like B. On top of all that, his ult had effectively zero counterplay during the post plants, as its range was simply too long. Fourth, we picked Chamber. On such a large map, having an agent who could hold space without a timer is incredibly strong. This meant that Chamber could be anywhere on defense, meaning our opponent would need to invest strong utility into the early round, like a Sova drone. And seeing as every team will probably run a Sova, having one agent that can force out such an impactful ability is huge. But imagine if you had a second Chamber, or better yet, the 5th agent in our comp, Yoru. With Yoru alone, we suddenly were able to pressure multiple lanes of the map at once. Imagine this, Chamber solo A, and Yoru walking down mid with smokes. If the enemy uses their drone on Chamber, they won't have any way to actually know if Yoru walked down. This could lead to major timings where Yoru could end up behind the B players, or maybe walking through the bottom mid smoke, catching players off guard with a wild timing. If you do decide to use your drone in mid, you deny the Yoru from walking up, but you now have a new problem. Chamber can now safely hold A, meaning that we can stack super heavy towards the B side of the map. All the while his trip holds top mid. The combination of Yoru and Chamber creates several problems on defense, but on attack, Yoru synergizes with the rest of the comp as well. Want to safely TP on site with Harbor's Cove? You can do that. Want to throw a deep teleport mid and stun the enemy with Astra? You can do that. Need flashes to pop out of all the smokes in your comp? Yoru has you covered. This comp excels at defensive timings, offensive punishes, and post plans. So at the start of game 1, we began to put our plan into action. I begin by walking down mid while my chamber holds B. The goal is to condition our opponent into investing Sova's utility early into the round to try and stop this exact play. But in this round, they don't actually use any, and I catch Waylay before TPing away. And although we lose this round, the conditioning was set, which made the enemy team use Sova's recon into mid in the very next round. Importantly, I get scanned, which means the enemy team has seen me walk up mid twice. With the start of round 3 and the knowledge that my enemy has seen me walk into mid 2 times in a row now, I go for it again. My goal is to force Sova into using his drone to push me off these lines. This is because Chamber is far more deadly than Yoru when holding a defensive line. And by pushing mid a 3rd time, despite having the better weapon, the enemy is now hyper aware of me, especially since I killed 2 this round, and I was able to nearly secure the ace, giving us our first of the game.
I'm sending left side.
I'm just gonna put my TP down.
One enemy
Under.
remaining.
Playing left now.
Nice,
No,
boys.
he's up.
2 rounds later, I walk down mid again. This unrivaled aggression and the fact that I refuse to give up mid without a fight means the enemy must invest heavy utility if they want to guarantee they have mid. Once we had a 3-round lead, the enemy realized that our sights had to be weak if we were investing so much into mid. So they ended up hitting A and B 4 times in a row, and we kept losing. And in the final round, we planned to use Astra's ult for a strong B retake, but she was caught by the enemy Sova ult. So this round would instead come down to aim duels.
Playing it now.
Fighting. Nice. 3v3. I'm in sight. One heaven.
Heaven.
Flashing. Oh,
We have
never mind. Flashing lower.
Cobra.
Flashing lower.
I think default, guys.
140. Heaven last time.
Last player standing.
Tied 6-6, we would lose the pistol round. But off the back of my IGL Sheriff buy, we would end up securing the enemy's anti-eco. This game was tight, that is until round 17. It was this round where I decided to try and catch a timing by just walking to top mid. And I'd find the Sova looking the other way before swinging and killing the enemy Vice as well. The only reason I was so ready for a player to be here was because of Sova. You see, Sova was likely not alone on A, but if he was holding spawn, that means somebody should have been holding his back. And in this round, it was Vice, but they were positioned incorrectly, which is what allowed me to secure the Sova from behind before cleaning up the second kill. The enemy team would start to get more ambitious, walking down mid, but we were more than ready as this is exactly how we play. And at this point, we would end up on match point with a 3-round lead. The enemy changed their plan, and they began to focus on retaking both sides, and they'd end up winning 3 straight, bringing this game to overtime. Since we were the team who reached 12 rounds first, we got to pick which side we wanted to start on. We chose defense. Keep this in mind. It'll be important later. For the first round of overtime, we ended up reading our opponent like a book, calling out their A-slam. So when they began to hit, we had 4 players already on site, and well, it was a slaughter.
Default, 40.
One enemy remaining.
Nice, boys.
We lose the next round. It's now 13-13. I get a kill in sight before escaping, but now we end up getting slaughtered on the retake, and the enemy is pushed match point. We go for a B hit, and we win the round. The score is now 14-14. Some miscommunication between me and my chamber results in us losing the A site, and the enemy cleans up. They are back on match point. I expect the enemy to get aggressive, so I hold for a push, and I secure the kill on Yoru. The gap created by this kill allowed me to work my way up into top mid, and eventually behind the A site, where I would catch Sova by surprise, and we'd tie up the game once again. 15-15. With the game so intense, I bank on the enemy forgetting the fact that I've pushed mid several times on defense. And due to the intensity of the moment, I was right, and the enemy was not ready for my push. We end up in a 4 versus 2 retake, which quickly crumbles. I keep my back to the wall as I crouch along rafter. I know Yoru is default and Vice is right under me. I want to catch them by surprise.
Vice.
40 Yoru.
Last player standing.
120.
One enemy remaining.
Nice, sir.
Let's go, man.
We finally secured the defensive round. Now it's our turn to be on match point.
I was all sneaky.
Fuck, bro, I whiffed.
Wait, that's game?
Let's get it.
Defenders win.
Too easy.
We win the game? Apparently, if the score reaches 15-15, the game is now sudden death. We were not told this, it just happened. But we're not complaining. Despite the broken mouse, I finished this game with 30 kills, 27 deaths, and 9 assists. But importantly for Yoru, I ended this game with 8 first bloods, meaning we ended up in 4th overall. But our next opponent, they were 1 spot above us. This is the podium the team Keo is playing on, but unfortunately, he wasn't playing today. But there's still a major problem. This team is composed of aimers. They don't have a lot of strategy, but rather they rely on their better mechanics to win. And with my mouse currently out of commission, this was going to be rough. And one player on their team was going to be a problem in particular. We start on defense again, and I walk down mid. I catch the jet before escaping, just like last game. But this time, I walk down mid again, and I end up catching the breach on his rotate, and I would clean up the round right after. In the next round, well...
Lower.
Now down 1-2, I go for another mid walk, catching the clove. Rounds would go back and forth, and I stopped pushing mid. So once we ended up on an eco, I went for my more ambitious push. The condition has been that when we smoke top mid and use our cascade bottom mid, it's that I am going into B link. But since we're on an eco, I decided to just walk through the smoke, trusting my aim, despite the broken mouse.
No dart for entry.
I get the Vandal and escape, and we win the round. I'm feeling my aim, but I'm getting ahead of myself, peeking into 3 versus 3 when I don't have to. And this half would finish up 5-7 in favor of the podium. The pistol started off well, and we took the B site with no problem, but we'd end up losing due to bad fights. The next 2 rounds go as expected. We lose the anti-eco, and we win the bonus. With the score at 6-9, we need to stop the bleeding before it's too late. But we are simply getting out-aimed by one player in particular.
They smoked the B for B split, like for anti-B split.
Vice. This Vice is beating us at every turn, and although we are winning a lot of these rounds, mostly off the back of our post plants, I still find myself dying to this Vice almost every round. This brings the enemy to match point, where we decided to just simplify the game. We decided to avoid Vice and just slam A.
One close right, one stuck right, stun close right.
Still.
We go for the exact same play in the next round, but it's a little less clean. During the site hit, 2 of my teammates die. I'm able to bring it to a 3 versus 3 thanks to the enemy's breach flash, but it's right here that I make a major mistake. That kill got my ultimate online, but instead of popping it and gathering information, all the while putting myself in a more dangerous position, I instead peek CT, and I die to an op. After my death, the enemy floods in, and we lose our first map of Premier, 10-13. And it hurts even more, because I went negative this game, right after dropping 30 kills. But I shouldn't concern myself with that. I played with a broken mouse, and we still finished in 6th place. So with no prep going into week 3, we had to pick our team comp on the fly. The first agent we picked was Viper. On attack, she was able to create a ton of pressure towards the A side of the map with her wall. This would allow Viper to walk into site or walk up ramps, forcing our opponent to put 2 different players on A at all times. This meant that our single wall could force the enemy into playing A, even when none of us were actually behind it. And on defense, Viper had one important job: cycling the mid smoke. When our mid smoke was close to fading, Viper could put up her own poison orb, and when she was running low on fuel, we could smoke mid again, giving Viper time to recharge her smokes. And you could just repeat this cycle. And with her snakebite, Viper was able to stop fast hits into mid, and she was a key piece in our trap plays. That'll make more sense once you've seen the rest of the comp, but for now, all you need to know is that Viper was an obvious first pick. Second, we picked Omen. This is the first change we made from our bind comp, and when you think about how these 2 maps play out, it actually makes a lot of sense. On bind, we played Clove to make faking sight hits easier, but on split, we don't really want to fake sights all too much anyway. With no teleporters, faking just isn't as strong. So we decided on Omen, as his paranoia is objectively one of the best abilities in Valorant. On defense, he could single-handedly stop a B hit with his paranoia, and his ability to teleport around the site makes him incredibly hard to trap. And on attack, his paranoia was incredibly strong for taking space. Taking B site? Blind pillar. Want to split B? Blind heaven. Want to take ramp control at the start of the round? Use paranoia. And if you don't want to invest such a strong ability so early, Omen could just use his teleport up into ramp, meaning he could sometimes function as a second duelist. Speaking of duelists, the third agent we picked was Raze, another change from our bind comp. On bind, we picked Waylay since she was much better at faking, as she could safely escape with her refract. But since we're not looking to fake as much on split, we figured Raze had more firepower. Her satchels were able to get a little more distance than Waylay's double dash, meaning she was more explosive. And on a map like Split, Raze's Roomba was able to gather vital information on attack, which is extra important as shotguns are particularly good on split. And with her nade being one of the deadliest abilities in Valorant, she was able to flush out any player who may have been hiding in a corner. And on defense, her paint shells were a vital part of our traps. But Raze's grenade is only so big, so how do we cover for its lack in size? That's where our fourth agent comes in, Tejo. With 2 guided salvos, Tejo was able to cover for any and all gaps that Raze couldn't. If you ever got caught in a trap, there would be 3 different abilities that were out to kill you. But that isn't where Tejo's value ends. On attack and defense, Tejo could gather vital information with his drone. With how small the map is, Tejo Taeho's limited vision wasn't an issue, and his drone could travel further than any other in the game. Alongside this, Taeho had strong stall in the form of his stun, as he could throw it into both mid and B main. To round out this comp, we needed a character that would be able to trap our opponents, but we struggled to pick between two different characters, but in the end, we went with Skye. We heavily considered Breach, as his stun is one of the perfect abilities to trap enemies, and he has incredible synergy with Taeho and Raze, but there was just one problem. I hate Breach. Although in theory he should be the perfect fit, his flashes might just be one of my least favorite abilities in Valorant. By the time you see a Breach flash, you could turn around, order some coffee, subscribe to Elro VCT, and you would still not be blind. And it's because of this, I wanted to play an agent that could actually flash my opponents, and Skye was the perfect choice. And interestingly enough, she might have actually been better for the traps. On defense, she would be able to gather information with her dog on A, which would allow us to set up traps mid-round, which was extremely important as every team would likely be running a Viper. And with our comp having two different types of smokes, having an agent who can pop flash through them was extremely important. This let us set up traps all over the map, and importantly, we were able to do them on the fly without any proper setup, meaning our opponent would have a very hard time countering these traps. And having 3 different agents with drones meant that we can gather information whenever we wanted. And to wrap it all up, Skye has the most versatile flash in the game, meaning I could be very flexible in my playstyle, flashing my Raze up into ramps on attack, refighting space through my own Viper's wall, using a fake flash for some style points, or gathering rough information on enemy positions. Our comp excels at flexibility, fighting power, and most of all, traps. So despite having no practice going into game number 1, we felt confident in our theory. So you can imagine our confidence when we won the pistol round and then proceeded to lose the second round right after. If our goal was to have faith in our theory, this was just about the worst possible start. In the very next round, the enemy grouped up for a B hit, but very importantly, their Raze lost a 1v1 against our Omen, and he was able to pick up a judge. And it's this one kill that allowed us to go for the retake. My Omen makes the plan to smoke off this line. This will cut off the peak from pillar to spawn and allow my Omen to close the distance with the judge. With this call, me and Taeho use our flash and guided salvo to fill in the gaps that are left. Taeho uses his missile back sight, clearing the deep angles for us. At the same time, I throw this flash, which will blind any opponent who is peeking back sight or in B main. And it's this combo of utility that ended up giving us a chance in this round, even if it was close.
Nice.
Camera still in.
One enemy remaining.
Man.
104, 104, 104.
Who's looking right now?
100. Nice!
Now that we have rifles, we go for our first trap play of the game. Off my call, I will flash around vent, making the enemy players tuck into these corners. At the same time, my Raze will throw her paint shells into this cubby, and my Taeho will use these 2 salvos. The first one will land on the jump up, killing any blind opponent. At the same time, the second missile will land at the entrance of sewer to cut off any potential support. And while all this happens, we will swing as a team, catching any stragglers. And now that we're up in a 5 versus 3, we would close out the round flawlessly. So our enemy would go for another A hit in the next round, and they would take the site with little resistance, forcing us to retake through a ton of utility.
Flashing elbow, 3, 2, 1.
Fine.
Last
man
player
now.
Oh, I got
standing.
caught, man.
Taken out.
2 main.
One enemy remaining.
That's
Why don't we have it?
great. Why did I sign up for this shit?
Ooh, and 2.
2.
With the score at 5-2, we would end up on another retake. And although we have 2 strong ults, we want to even up the player count before using any of them. And because the enemy split through B heaven, I decided to clear deep into mid, just in case they left a player to catch the rotates. And I found Viper sitting behind the box. All the while, my Omen got a kill on sight. So now that it's a 3 versus 3, I rip my ult and we begin our retake. While I flash around pillar to try and isolate a fight on the enemy Omen, 2 players swing for main. But it was our Omen who was the star of the show, killing the 2 main players before cleaning up the Omen on sight.
Somewhere.
Flashing backside for info.
Smoke.
Yeah,
Smoke.
could be-
And smoke.
Smoke.
Nice! And since we didn't end up using our Taeho ult, we were able to pop it in the next round on another B retake, but this time we were facing a Viper's Pit. My Taeho makes the plan to use his Armageddon towards main while clearing back sight. As this happens, both of my teammates make the decision to spam the enemy as they have now been forced into the open. While this is happening, I begin to wrap around the Viper's Pit to try and catch a distracted enemy.
Oh, just out. Somewhere outside.
I'm behind them.
Nice.
He's backside.
I think Viper did
One
yeah.
enemy
You're so
remaining.
smart, bro.
Dude, I'm dying close.
There, good walking. Good walk towards this. Hey.
Oh, William.
The half finishes 8-4, and we managed to win the pistol round with a great team fight. And we'd take a commanding lead before trying to convert our bonus round. We are down a player when hitting sight, but Omen takes a 1v1 against me in spawn, and I win. Now that it's down to a 2 versus 2, I stay tucked on sight, waiting for my Omen to make contact. Off his contact, I will swing to either trade or kill the second player, as they should be playing together. But in this round, they actually ended up playing separate, and I almost lost because I was looking the wrong way. But since the Raze whiffed, I was able to secure the bonus round. And off the back of that pivotal round, we were able to clean up, and we won our first game 13-5. But this wasn't just a win. No, we dominated our opponent, and we had no practice going into this match. And I finished this game with 15 kills, 10 deaths, and 11 assists. And we were now placed in 4th. But if we wanted to come out of this week with 2 wins, we were going to have to do so against our hardest opponent yet.
Maybe.
Oh, it's #1 team.
We were faced up against the #1 team in our division, but we weren't scared to face them. We just came off a dominant win, and their comp actually doesn't pair well against ours. By replacing Omen with an Astra, they lose out on a lot of explosive power, but in return, they can work the map a lot slower with Astra's recalls. And instead of having a second initiator like we do, they opted for a Sage. This means our opponent will be contacting and walking up a lot of angles. Just by switching these 2 agents, our opponent has a far more defensive and slow-paced comp, which means our traps have more time to form. And if I'm being honest, I think we have the advantage. Unfortunately, we started on attack, meaning we'd have to play really slow to begin with. Luckily, we won the pistol, but you can see just how slow we were playing in the very next round. It took us a total of 50 seconds to go from A main all the way up into ramp. This is because we were taking this offensive side extremely cautiously. But come the bonus round, my Teo and Raze would end up in a crucial 2 versus 3. My Raze gets 1, and he uses his satchel to barely escape death with only a Spectre in hand. And with the enemy Raze being low, he manages to get a long distance kill with the Spectre right before my Teo cleans up the round. Although we didn't know it yet, this round was vitally important because we didn't just lose the next round. We didn't lose the next 2. We didn't lose 3. We didn't lose 4. We didn't lose 5. We lost 6 rounds straight. If we wanted to bring ourselves back into this half, we needed a hero.
Gonna nuke here when we go.
We have to go.
No, yeah, I'm just going out.
Letting out.
Your trail.
Die.
Raisin or Sky was and we also have
Let's help.
help.
I'm flashing backside. 3, 2, 1, pop.
Hell heaven.
Hell heaven, nice. Raptor heaven, nice. Raptor.
Suppressed.
Yeah, nice.
We are in a 4 versus 3 in the very next round, and we would need another player to step up. While hitting sight, our Tejo gets a kill, making this a 3 versus 3. While we plant the bomb, my Viper uses his ultimate towards spawn, forcing the enemy to either take a trip all the way through ramp and main, or forcing them to jump out of heaven, which the enemy Sage does right as I flash out of the ultimate. Luckily, I'm able to secure the kill, and my Tejo swings out to catch a second player. And with time running low, my Tejo swings again, cleaning up the round with 3 kills. And in the very next round, trades would go back and forth, and we would end up in another 3 versus 4. After using my dog to find Astra, I would flash us out of main, and we would all begin to look for fights. But after I kill this Raze in Rafters, I am traded by the enemy Sage, and my Tejo is left in a 2 versus 1.
Player standing.
And heaven, I heard heaven.
One enemy remaining.
Thanks to the heroics of my teammates, we managed to claw this half back, bringing the score to a tie at 6 apiece. But now, we are going to our stronger half of defense. The pistol starts off perfectly, as we end up being able to stack 3 players onto B as they hit the site. It's a flawless round. Off of my Viper's call, we go for a regular mid-fight, without any trap.
Flash down, flash
3,
down.
2, 1.
Bomb down mid.
It's another flawless round. The score is now 9-8, and I start off at A. But the moment my Raze gets past the enemy's Viper wall, I begin to rotate. And since they made noise in mid, I go through vent to set up a mid-round trap. And although our timing's a little off as the Viper orb hadn't dropped fast enough, our salvos were able to flush the Sky out of the corner. And after I kill Sky before tucking behind this box, I wait a few seconds to give the enemy time to walk up and get close. I then flash again, and we fight as a team, killing a total of 3 enemies. And since the bomb was dropped in mid, we set up to hold the space. But there is more than what meets the eye with this on-the-fly setup. You see, my Omen has a Bucky, and with this smoke that he had placed, the enemy would surely assume a player was tucked into this corner. And because of that, I took a slightly wider angle. If an enemy was pre-aiming the corner, I would be able to catch them as they swung. And even if they managed to kill me, my Omen would just jiggle peek and take 1 shot. And because of how close range this fight is, he would likely get the trade. And in this round, if we slow down this fight, you can see how Viper did end up pre-aiming my Omen, and I was able to clean up the kill right before we finished out the round. and we were playing with incredible coordination. As once we reached match point, the enemy went for a ramp stake. Once they got close, my Viper went up the rope, being sure to make noise to pull the attention toward himself. And although we got surprised by Raze just jumping through the Viper wall, I managed to secure the kill. After backing up and getting stunned, I used my flash to stall a potential push, before using my Sky Dog to set up another trap. But my Taeho was busy fighting the Sage in mid, so I ended up needing to take my own fight against Sky. And after getting my second, my team would trade me out, and we would end up in a 3 versus 1 on match point.
He's upstairs. B heaven now.
I hit him 35.
Out neutral bomb.
Say.
Bang!
Nice.
GG, boys. That's the #1 team.
We beat the #1 team in our division with 0 practice, and I ended this game with 18 kills, 14 deaths, and 11 assists. And once the final scores came in, we placed second in our division. So how did we end up making our team comp? Well, it all started with one overly enthusiastic player who wanted to have some fun. Me. The reason I wanted to play Phoenix wasn't just for fun. I actually think he's really underrated. My favorite part of the kit is the flash. To put it simply, it is easy to use, hard to dodge, and very fun. And with how fast your gun pulls out after using the flash, Phoenix is able to punish players who aren't near cover. And with how simple this ability is, I don't need to think about how I throw my flash all too much, meaning I can focus on fighting as much as possible. Because even pro players struggle to dodge this flash. It's just that quick. Phoenix's other 2 abilities are simpler. His molly is okay at stopping a push, as it does a lot of damage very quick, but I prefer to use it for one purpose: clearing smokes. Specifically, this annoying defensive smoke on A. This smoke allows the A anchor to move around the site incredibly safely, and it allows teammates to flood in very fast. So if I use my molly to fill the floor of the smoke, the enemy will have to leave, and I can then use my flash to secure the kill on site. Because unlike, say, I don't know, a breach flash, this one's actually hard to dodge. Next is his wall, which is certainly the worst ability in his kit, and I mostly used it for healing myself, but it was pretty valuable when retaking, as the short duration actually works well in its favor. But the true reason I wanted to play Phoenix was his ultimate. With a measly 6 cost ultimate, I was able to get it online incredibly fast. On attack, I could use my own wall to secure the orb on C, and on defense, I would contest the orb at A, letting me get a minimum of 2 ultimate points every single round. And the fact that Phoenix's ult is effectively a second life meant that we were able to play what felt like a 6 versus 5 in about a third of the rounds. The next agent we picked was Waylay. I'm not going to go super in depth as to why we ran Waylay. You'll understand why after the first game, so stick around. But what matters is that Waylay can dive into sight, so the team wasn't reliant on me to get all the space. But really, we just felt like picking her because we wanted to. That's it. The same can't be said for our third pick, Omen. With Paranoia being such a good ability, not picking him felt like a problem, as the Paranoia lines are really strong. Retake flash on A, retake flash on C, flashing on the A hit. You get the point. But it wasn't just his Paranoia that made us pick him. Omen's teleport allowed him to create a bunch of pressure towards A on attack, and there wasn't a lot the enemy could really do about it. Plus, there's a lot of elevation that Omen can abuse, like all of B-site. But our comp has a problem. We have no information. So what better agent than Sova to fix this issue? One of the most important tools for re-clearing A space on attack is a drone, and due to the A-long sightline being so, well, long, having a drone with no limited vision is super helpful. And being able to combine deep Sova darts and Omen smokes to isolate areas is one of the best ways to collect information. An ability in Sova's kit that I feel gets overlooked is a shock dart, but on Haven in particular, they are even better. Virtually every team runs a Cypher or a Killjoy, so against a Cypher, Sova can use his shocks to take away information from the enemy on attack. And when facing a Killjoy, he can kinda do the same for the alarm bot, but otherwise he struggles just a little bit. Except for the fact that Sova's ult is a 1-to-1 counter to Killjoy's ultimate. And seeing as Killjoy's ult can win an entire round all on its own, this Sova pick is beginning to make a lot of sense. Speaking of Killjoy and Cypher, how do we pick between them? On one hand, Cypher is generally very strong on Haven, and although Sova gives him a hard time, he still has some of the best info gathering in the game. Killjoy on the other hand gets hard countered by Sova's ult. So why did we choose her over Cypher? You see, in an average round, Killjoy is able to gather information longer than Cypher can. And although she basically doesn't have an ultimate because of Sova, we at the very least get to force our opponent into keeping their Sova ult as a counter, meaning we don't have to deal with it during the post plants or traps on defense. And ultimately, Killjoy is simpler. So if you've been keeping along with our goal, she is better for our ranked style of play. And our comp's biggest strength lies in its simplicity. No fancy plays, just good, fundamental Valorant. And if we could win with this ranked style comp, we might just be able to secure first place. So at the start of game 1, we wanted to make sure that we got off off to a hot start, but there's no time to talk. The enemy rushed the C site within 10 seconds of the round starting, and we were immediately put on the retake. With the combination of my Omen smoke mid-site, I make the plan to use my wall to isolate all of backsite. This combo of vision blocking utility will create a zone. This will give us the time we need to focus our attention into clearing one half of the site. And if I delay placing my wall until about 10 seconds after my Omen smoke, it will give us a 4-second window before the smoke drops, and an additional 3 seconds until the wall does the same. So while we are running out, I'll throw my molly toward the smoke to push enemies into open positions. At the same time, we'll throw our saturate back sight in case an enemy is there. And once we have this space, we can begin to focus on taking the front of sight, as my wall should drop by then. Now, while in theory this is good and all, it wasn't a plan that we had talked about. First, we didn't use our dash toward plat, meaning we couldn't clear backside effectively. Second, my Sova ran through my own wall before I could flash. Luckily, my Omen and I secure the round with a good flash from me, some nice shots from my Omen, and some calm aim against the Viper. And now, let me show you the exact opposite of calm aim. I'm just gonna play the clip. It'll speak for itself.
Yeah. Lots here, lots here.
30
Hey,
seconds
hey, hey.
Despite the display of raw talent that you just witnessed, we ended up losing that round. But the way we were losing was the real problem. Our enemy was taking advantage of our rank style comp, pressuring A with this incredible Viper wall, and baiting out our info gathering utility like the alarm bot. So the moment we ended up on a retake, we were fully exposed to their lurking Killjoy. This play would snowball into Killjoy getting her ultimate online before our Sovas, meaning we had little to no counters, and we'd fall short again. But our opponent didn't let up on the pressure, going for set plays. Although simple, the enemy went for an A rush, utilizing Omen's ult to take very deep space into A heaven. At the same time, Neon created a ton of pressure, and we ultimately got killed by the Omen behind us, so we lost again and again. If I want to stop the bleeding before it's too late, I am going to need to play to our comp's strengths, more specifically, Phoenix's. So what does that actually look like? In this round, the enemy is rushing A again, so I use my molly to delay the short push, giving me time to flash and fight. Unfortunately, I completely misjudged where the enemy would be. While sitting in the smoke, I take note of my one remaining flash. If I'm going to win this round, it'll be with this ability. To increase the odds of my flash connecting, I peek long to lower the short player's guards before flashing out of the smoke, securing 2 kills and all of the short space. Finally, we win the round. And off the back of that flash, I start to play more confident. I'm going for refights off timing. And even when nobody's actually there, I still take space without fear, which would lead us to a retake where I have my ultimate, and I use it in Garage to secure a kill on Neon. And now that it's a 1 versus 1, I utilize every ability in my kit to secure the round. I first use my wall to threaten a cross towards the bomb. Anticipating that Omen might want to swing from default, I throw my molly to cover the peak. And once I am out of the choke, I decide to go for a high flash instead of popping it through my wall normally. And funny enough, it almost cost me the round. So why did I go for the awkward blind? You see, at this moment, Omen could literally be anywhere. So I need to cover for the most positions possible. The red lines will be the blinded zone, and the blue lines will be the safe zone. If I flash through my wall normally, only logs, spawn, and the close box will be blind. But if I go for this high flash above the box, it will blind every single spot on C, except for close, which happens to be exactly where Omen ended up playing. But since Omen was low, I was able to secure the kill regardless. And I wasn't going to let off the pressure anytime soon. I would walk down A short while looking for a 1v1, catching a timing on Killjoy, and we would end this half 5-7, which considering our team comp, that actually isn't that bad. So with the attack side just beginning, I continued to play with no fear, jumping into a smoke to look for a 1v1, and using my Phoenix's wall to get some unconventional side entries. And after tying the score, we were in a pivotal round. It's a 3 versus 3, and I've got a timing through Garage. After swinging 2 players and only killing 1, I run away, though you can see that I really wanted to fight here. But with the importance of this round, I decided to just go with the team. After getting the bomb down, we confirmed that the enemy is flank and spawn. So after totally not baiting my teammate, I get the trade. And while running back sight to flip the map, I use my first flash to stall the long player before running into spawn. I use that moment to notice my ultimate online, and I don't hesitate to use it. And although it's an awkward 1 versus 1, one of which I definitely could have just lost, I end up securing the round, and we get our first lead of the game. And we would begin to snowball momentum with strong sight hits and great entries. But do you remember what I said before? It was something about playing like it was ranked? I'm struggling to remember. Maybe this round will help.
Running.
One enemy remaining.
Sticking.
Last player standing.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
that's tragic.
Ah, yes. Throwing. Just like in a ranked game, I didn't tell my Omen that I would peek off the first bomb tap, and we both got killed as a result, and the enemy Killjoy would win the round. And for whatever reason, the enemy would decide to call a timeout. But in this game, during this timeout, one player stepped up. His name is Will, and he made a simple but very potent strategy. Here's the plan. The basic idea is that we're going to do an A fake into a C hit, but to sell this fake, we'll start off by darting A short and using our waylay dash also into short. In case of a player A long, I'll use my flash to push them off the line. We'll all make sure to get scanned by the Sova dart to really sell this fake. And once we have short, my Killjoy will use her ultimate and commit to fighting for the space with Waylay. And while the ult is going off, my Omen will send a smoke into heaven from across the map. After doing my part of flashing and getting scanned, I run towards mid to catch the rotates. And I end up catching Killjoy walking down mid as she was trying to flank us at A. And because of this kill, the enemy now realizes that it's a fake. And this call would give us all the momentum we needed to win the game, where I finished with 19 kills and 12 deaths. But we didn't just win. No, we are now the #1 team in our division, which made us come into our second game super confident. So confident, in fact, that we decided to replace our Waylay with a Neon. Why, you may ask? Because we felt like it. I mean, I told you we were going to play it like it was ranked, but unlike last game, however, this one started off far less clean, as the enemy went for a C hit, but instead of playing to retake, we played to flood. The main reason for the change was the Neon pick, since she is able to rotate a lot faster, which should result in us having 3 players on site for the rush. Our Omen will give us this smoke back sight to allow us to cross. My Killjoy will use her mollies to stall most of the enemy team, although she isn't able to stop the Waylay or Yoru. But that's where I come in. Once I hear Yoru or Waylay get onto site, I can use the stall to isolate a fight with my flash. Once my Neon makes it in time, she'll stun inside the mid smoke to stop any players from flooding through. And by that time, we will likely have the man advantage, all of back sight, and a triple stack on C. So what actually happened? I swung with no flash, missed all my shots, my Neon stunned me and Killjoy back sight, we lose C, and we lose the round. Let's move on to round 3, where we are on another retake, but for the first time, it's on B. The plan is to punish our opponent using damaging utility. Off the bomb plant, my Sova sends a shock dart toward the planter, and at the very same time, I throw my molly at his feet. And due to the sheer damage per second of these two abilities, it kills a lot faster than you think. After that, my Neon will run out of A link with the support of my Omen's Paranoia, and at the same time, I will throw my flash out of the smoke to catch any close players, and we would flood on the enemy, cleaning up the round flawlessly. After the opposing team went for 4 rushes in a row, I had a feeling that they would go for a lurk this round. But this isn't because I'm some sort of genius. It's actually because of this one Killjoy turret. But how could one turret reveal the enemy's position? You see, Killjoy has one glaring weakness: range of utility. By placing the turret outside of garage, she doesn't have a lot of angles that she could realistically be. If she went with the team on C, her turret would just go down. Unless she was just baiting her entire team. But if she wanted to lurk bottom mid or window, well, that's a different story. Now her turret can hold the garage walk down while she waits for a timing. And it's because of this, I was able to catch the Killjoy before going into garage, where I would then use my molly to protect me from a swing, but the timing was off. And I don't know how I survived the fight against Waylay, but it won us the round, so I'm not complaining. Later in the half, I would get my ultimate online again, and I would use it to flood onto A, but I only managed to get 1 kill since I decided to crouch spray. And do you remember that thing I said at the start of the video? You know, the playing like it was ranked? Well, what could be more ranked than flashing my own teammate? Twice. Have you ever been flashed by your own Phoenix in ranked? Don't lie, I know you have.
Hurt short, left side.
Can we just hold? I'm low.
Oh, sorry,
I'm blind.
Together, guys,
Wait,
together.
chill. I'm just gonna jiggle. I'm flashing 3.
Bomb's right here, bro.
I'm blind again. Guys, I'm blind. Guys, I'm blind. Guys, I'm blind. Guys, I'm blind. Hello?
We would end up finishing this half tied at 6 apiece, but just like on defense, we lost our pistol round, giving the enemy a 2-round lead again, and we would be in a post plant down 1 player. But in this round, I make the call to get aggressive, as the enemy team has their Yoru ult online, and with Waylay having her full kit, we would likely get overwhelmed if we tried to just hold the site. Luckily, the Waylay missed the shot with the judge, allowing me to get the kill and escape. After looking heaven and killing Yoru, I use my molly to stop any other potential player. Once I realize the enemy is flooding onto spawn, I use my flash to peek, but I intentionally throw it away from my opponent toward A short. Why, you may be thinking? Well, my teammate is positioned under heaven, looking for a potential drop, but with the enemy flooding out of CT, he will almost certainly peek towards spawn for us to swing off of him. So if I curve my flash around the corner, I might blind my own teammate. And I know I was just joking about flashing my Killjoy, but if I can prevent myself from blinding my teammates, that's always going to be better, obviously. But when I swung and noticed no blind enemies, I quickly jumped back into cover, spotting Sova at the same time. So I used my second flash, securing us the round. And at this point, I've got a lot of kills to my name. So I begin to play with even more confidence. And in round 18, my Killjoy gets killed on the flank by 2 players. In this situation, I could try to go for some interesting plays. I could run up and flash the corner, looking to kill 2 blind enemies. Or maybe I can call to flip the map and we fight the 2 enemy players towards spawn. But in this round, I do neither. I instead just hold my ground. I am on an odd angle, and as long as I keep my composure, I know that I'm able to win this fight. So after killing Neon, I take a slightly wider angle and I clean up the Killjoy as well, winning us this round and keeping momentum on our side. So once the score reached 11-8, I make a plan to try and get us to match point. The The plan is simple. Because the enemy Yoru always starts toward A and his teleport is in spawn towards C, we could easily force him into rotating early, opening up the map for lurks. The key to this strategy starts with my ultimate, where I will pop it outside of garage and fight like we're hitting C. To ensure the enemy doesn't just walk down mid on me, my neon holds my body. And once my ult runs out, the second phase of the plan will begin. My Killjoy, who's been patiently waiting outside of A, will start to walk up. But since we don't want to let off any pressure, my neon will now begin to run it down C through garage, just like I did. This second wave of pressure should ensure that the enemy rotates, and we are more than willing to sacrifice our neon to do so. And to sell all this pressure, we'll use our Omen Smokes and Sova Recon. And the moment my neon gets onto the C site, I will quickly make my way to front B to make sure the enemy rotate is cut off. So we go for the play. I run in with my ult while my neon holds my body. Once I die, my neon begins to run into C. I then leave toward the front of B site, using some tech to silently jump up the steps by getting a running start but not sprinting while I jump. And I catch Sova, leaving 2/3 of the map entirely undefended. We then take A, and I clean up the round with 2 more kills as the enemy tries to rotate back from C. And at this point, we are simply outplaying and outperforming our opponent, and we win this game. Not before our opponent decided to leave us with a bit of a salty message. So, did I succeed in ruining this week of Premier for my opponents? You let me know in the comments, because regardless, we are now definitively the #1 team in our division, and next week, we've got to defend our spot in first place. So what team comp did we run on Corrode? Let's first start with KO and explain why in theory he is a broken agent. First is his flash, which I would argue is the second best in the game, only being beat by Skye. Although not as flexible as Skye's flash, KO's flash is very small and hard to notice, unlike some agents I know. This means that flashing for a teammate from a far distance is incredibly strong, but it does require a ton of agent mastery, otherwise your flashes won't be that hard to dodge. KO's flash is best used when popping through smokes. With the new buffs, his flash lasts forever, and it's still incredibly hard to dodge. But the thing KO is known for is his knife, as being able to take away your opponent's abilities for 8 seconds is super strong. And the fact that it goes through walls means that it's impossible to dodge when used correctly. And this can fully stop a sight hit or retake, making it a vital piece of utility. Normally, you wouldn't be able to say the same for his molly, but that's where I disagree. I'll go more in depth as to why later in this video, so stick around, but all you need to know now is that this one ability is the unsung hero of KO's kit. And rounding out said kit is KO's null command. I mean, it takes away enemy abilities for 16 seconds, gives KO an extra life, and even gives him a stim effect. Need I say more? He's broken. In theory. A good combo with KO is Fade, our second pick. With the most information utility in the game, Fade makes KO a larger threat. This is because KO can use his knife primarily to counter utility instead of gathering information. And on top of that, her dog allows KO to get a ton of pop flash kills, making these two a great pair. And with how paper thin the walls are on Corrode, her recon can lead to a ton of spam kills. The next agent we picked was Viper. This is because she is one of the keys to the most important space on Corrode, mid. On defense, her wall can be used to cycle bottom mid, forcing our opponent to use utility to get through it. And on attack, her wall can create tons of pressure in mid, which both KO and Fade can thrive around. Plus with this Viper orb on A, she can create a ton of pressure, forcing the enemy to keep less people in mid, which if you've been paying attention, that's kind of the goal. To pair with this Viper pick, we went with Omen. He is the best controller in the game, and he gives us even more tools for fighting. Paranoia is broken when paired with all the utility in this comp, as the B flash is really strong, and this A flash allows our team to split when hitting A. But with all this utility, Omen flashes, Fade recon, KO flashes, who could we pick to capitalize on all of it? The answer is Waylay. Her double dash is the best way to close the distance in the game right now, and she is arguably the best duelist, though I personally believe she isn't the #1 duelist. Regardless, she is perfect to capitalize on all the utility, and her kit works incredibly well with KO in particular, as KO's molly is very good when paired with the saturate. And with mid being such a big focus for this map, no other agent can explode through the mid space like Waylay can. And to really prove what makes Waylay so good on this map, the traps that you can pull off with her are insanely strong. So with the start of game 1, the first thing I noticed was just how slow the enemy team comp was. With no flashes and 3 different slow-paced agents, I knew exactly how our opponent would want to play, and I made a plan. With an Astra, Viper, and Vice, the enemy would prioritize inserting players into deep position, using Viper's wall and Fade dogs to do so. They would then go re-clear space on the other side of the map, and from there, they could hit whatever site they wanted to. To keep it simple, it is a 3-stage offensive plan. Stage 1 is to take initial space towards A or B and insert 1 player, since they know our comp is very strong towards mid. Stage 2 is about re-clearing space toward the opposite side of the map or towards mid. And stage 3 is to hit a site with a space that you took in stage 1, or fake the hit using that same space. So, armed with the knowledge of our enemy's team comp, can you spot what it is I did?
Wait.
Yeah, I'm coming back. 3, 2, 1. Back.
A simple flash? Really? That was the plan? Yes, but what's more important is when I use the flash. You see, my plan is to refight into whatever space the enemy takes at the start of the round, but more importantly, we do so during the enemy's second phase of attack. This is because we are likely to only fight one player, as the rest would have left to go re-clear space. And if we successfully pull off a re-clear, the enemy will have lost all the space on one side of the map. And with their comp having no real way to explode out of space, they won't be able to react by slamming the other site. And we would end up winning the pistol round off the back of a big 4K by my omen. Come the bonus round, we start off with the same play again. Knife mid, rotate B for support. And although the enemy has this annoying Viper wall, all I need to do is spam right through it, since the enemy has made zero noise across the map, meaning they're almost 100% behind this wall. And when the enemy went for the hit, they got slaughtered. And I clean up the round with a Fade Dog and KO Flash combo. So with the bonus round starting, we could secure a massive lead if we won this round. So what do? Knife mid, run B, flash B main. But wait, nobody's there. That's okay. I guess the enemy learned from the pistol round. But my Viper doesn't think so. He makes a perfect read. Just listen to this call.
I'm gonna dog your link.
Fast through this, bro. Fast through
Yeah.
Back up.
So why was this so smart? Or was this only good in hindsight? Let me break it down for you. If you are the enemy team and you want to insert a player at B really bad, but the last time you did, this stupid KO and Viper decided to fight you with the flash, you've got a few options. Maybe you do the same thing again and hope they don't fight you this time. No, that's probably a bad idea. They are on a bonus round after all. They'll definitely want to fight. Okay, maybe you just don't insert a player onto B. Again, no, you need to insert a player since your comp sucks at fast-paced hits. I've got it. Let's fake the initial insert with a Fade Dog and Viper's Wall. Then just wait in B main for the enemy to re-clear the space with a flash. And once you've heard the flash, you can put up the Viper Wall again, take the angle, and then actually insert a player now that the enemy has left the space. But unfortunately for you, our Viper is 2 steps ahead. So he called for a second flash, anticipating this exact play. Because who in their right mind would use both flashes back to back in the span of 5 seconds? We would. And this kill would open up the round. And we'd secure a bonus to get us a 3-round lead. Skipping over to round 7, you can see just how self-sufficient KO can be. Just going for a simple underhand flash and taking a fight can be incredibly strong. And now that we have 6 rounds to our name, it's looking like we will walk away with this victory. It would be a shame if we suddenly started to lose defensive rounds. We lost 5 straight. Okay, I'm not going to fully skip these rounds, but I will tell you what started to go wrong. And I can explain it with 2 words. Mid control. We kept losing mid, which doesn't make a bunch of sense when you consider the enemy's lack of utility, but herein lies the problem with agents like KO, or even a team comp like ours. We have so much utility to fight mid that we often stop prioritizing our guns. This is due to something called actions per minute, which in Valorant terms means how many times you look at or pull out your utility. And you know how I was talking about how KO has so many different things he can do, making him in theory one of the best agents in Valorant? Well, it's this exact strength that is also KO's downfall, as he has one of the highest actions per minute in the game. So does that mean he's a bad agent? If you were to master KO, this actions per minute problem would hypothetically not exist, making everything I said pointless. So I ask you, do you think KO as an agent is the problem? Or is this just a classic example of players not fully realizing an agent's true potential? You let me know in the comments. Regardless, it's time to move on to the second half, where I now get to show you KO's most underrated ability. KO's molly is way better than you think, and it can lead to a ton of kills when used properly. In the pistol round of attack, we take mid and end up pushing into A link. With my Waylay's recall and my Fade C's, I know an enemy is stuck in this corner, so I use my molly to secure the kill. But that wasn't anything special. Surely this would work with any agent, right? In this particular case, yeah, you're right, but this is only one example. I've got plenty more to come. In the very next round, we end up in a 2 versus 1 in the post plan, and I get an idea to secure the round. I'm going to use myself as a sacrifice, making the round nearly unwinnable with one single flash. Here's the play. I will throw a very noticeable, easy to dodge flash, but I will swing before the flash pops. If the Viper turns from the flash, I'll shoot her while she's looking away. But you may be thinking, what if she doesn't turn right away? Wouldn't I just be giving her a 1 versus 1? If you were thinking that, you'd be correct. But I also took that into consideration. So let's say I die in the 1v1. Remember that flash that I threw? Well, it's gonna pop right after I swing. So even if I die, the Viper will be fully flashed, and my Viper can swing out for the trade on a fully blind enemy. So what actually happened this round? I threw the flash, Viper hit me for 100, and I got the kill. So none of that really mattered. I just wanted to show you the idea, since I think it's a pretty novel way of using the KO flash. Remember the molly from a minute ago? Well, it's now round 16, and I'm gonna let this clip play out. I want you to see if you can spot what I do here.
Yeah, brace your low, brace your low. Let's go.
148 dead. You may be thinking, wow, Elro, you spotted Astra, threw a molly, got killed, and got traded by your own molly. How special. Oh, you silly little fool. You are failing to see the genius of this play. Let me show you again.
He moves! Right there! Wait! Right there!
Okay. Let me break it down for you. As I spot the Astra, I use my molly to either push him back or ensure that I get the kill. But how can I do that? It's simple, really. By pre-firing a few shots towards my molly. I'm not aiming for the head. I don't need to kill the player with a nice shot. I just need to slow them down. And remember, when you shoot a player, their movement speed slows down, which in turn means that the enemy will be stuck in the molly longer. And did you think that was the last you were going to see of this molly? I'm not done yet. It's now round 19. And surprise, surprise, I get another molly kill. And I do so by combining it with my flash. This flash will push my enemy into this corner. And with the help of my waylay saturate, the enemy will have no escape.
Watch out slow. Yeah.
Flash.
Winding.
Only step in.
One enemy remaining.
Right there. How many molly kills have I got in this game, bro?
3. I've gotten 3, and I wouldn't get any more as we would close this game out in the very next round, giving us a commanding lead in our division. So we were feeling extra confident coming into game 2, and we started this match off in convincing fashion. The reason we prioritize mid control so much is best shown in this round. After taking the initial space in mid with the knife and smoke, we realize the enemy is rushing A, and since we have all of mid, we are able to flood out into A main as the enemy begins to hit, meaning our opponent had to fight through a smoke against 4 players, and unsurprisingly, they lost. And come the very next round, our opponent decides to go for a B hit, but we're ready. As the enemy team begins to throw utility, I use my flash to stall the hit, getting an assist on the Omen, and I then swing out, killing 2 players with some clean shots. But then it happens. I'm just gonna play the clip.
Fight.
I can't see him, guys.
Oh.
Right?
Oh my god. Yo.
Guys.
Let's just move on and pretend nothing happened, okay? It's now round 4, and our opponent goes for a mid fight, but unfortunately for us, my waylay gets killed right away. But before dying, he was able to do 80 damage to the enemy Sova in bottom mid. And since KO's molly has no indication before it lands, Sova wouldn't be ready to run, and by the time he would notice the molly at his feet, it was already too late. Molly kill count at 4. Come round 6, our opponent had 3 big ultimates online, but the one I'm most afraid of is KO's. At least, I would be if I didn't know the perfect counter. That's right, the perfect counter to KO's ultimate is another KO ult. I'm serious, it's the one true counter, but how am I able to use it? Isn't the whole point of a KO ult to get rid of your abilities? How could I use my own ability if he got rid of my ability? It's simple, really. KO's ult has a tiny delay before it pops. If you're ready for it, you can pop your own KO ult before it goes off. And it's important to note that this unique interaction always favors the defending side, as the enemy can no longer push into space, while the defense just get to stand back and hold their lines. And the thing is, our opponent clearly was not aware of this interaction, and they had 0 backup plan. So once the ults ran out, they just decided to hit site anyway with their remaining ults. Unfortunately for me, they did use both ults toward elbow. Luckily, Omen TP'd into the open, and I was able to kill him before dying myself. But none of that really matters, because my Omen ended up getting 3 kills with a Sheriff, which is all we needed to close out this round. And it seems like our opponent loves rushing sites, as they go for an A slam in round 7. But just like the pistol round, we are able to rotate incredibly fast with our mid control. And once again, my Omen kills 3 of the enemy players. You know what? I've said my Omen too many times. His name's Nathaniel, and he has won us back-to-back rounds, which has led to us getting a strong 3-round lead early in this game. Anyway, you remember how I said Fade pairs well with KO? Well, here's another example of their synergy. Our opponent has taken mid control very aggressively a few times now, and they always use their waylay dash into this corner. And because of this, my Fade makes a plan to use the C's to trap waylay. And you know what ability goes really well with trapped players? I'll let you take a guess. With Waylay dead and the Molly kill count at 5, we call to continue mid fighting with a flash and our Waylay ult, and I end up killing the Omen before swinging bottom mid with my Waylay, where we would both die by the same player who wasn't hit by the ultimate. Unfortunately, we would lose the round, but right away, we go for another mid fight, and it's specifically designed to stop Waylays from diving quickly into A link. By throwing this knife, I'm not able to stop the double dash. Unfortunately, that's just not possible, but it will stop Waylay from using her recall ability, so hypothetically speaking, if the walls of Corrode were made of, I don't know, paper, and we were to use something like a Fade Eye, it would sure be a very annoying way to get killed. Maybe it's karma, but we lost the round anyway, and our big lead is beginning to shrink, and fast. It's now the final round of the half, and we have a 1-point lead. Our opponent went for a very fast-paced mid-take, but instead of fighting back into them, we decided to adjust.
Push me top mid, push me top mid.
Yeah.
Take main.
Yeah, they're gonna push.
Off of my reaction of the enemy deep pressuring into top mid, my Viper calls for me to take main, and there couldn't have been a better reaction. If this was a B split, we would have been fighting into a maximum of 2 players, but importantly, we'd have the element of surprise. And if the opponent wasn't splitting, we would end up with all of B main space for free, opening up the flank for us. And this would lead to a very bad situation for our opponent, since once I was inserted super deep into mid, I was able to control not only all of mid, but I could also hear the enemy rotations. It seems like the other team was aware of my position, but I was still able to get the kill on KO. And I knew that Chamber was in spawn with an op, so I decided to use both my flashes to take an aggressive fight, though funny enough, not one of them connected. So in the end, a wide swing was all I needed. And with the bomb down in spawn, I run to control the space, but while running, I notice this trash can, and I get an idea.
Dude, top down on this thing, top down on this, on garbage can.
This is just a simple up-down setup, but if I'm being honest, I have never seen a player on top of this trash can once, and we would just hold this line with the knowledge that our opponent would have no way of being prepared for this hold. Seriously, how could they? Getting a 2-round lead is great, but it would really suck if we were to, I don't know, lose pistol, let the enemy tie up the score, and end up in a 3 versus 1 on our full buy. That would really suck. Yeah, we lost, giving our opponent a 2-round lead. So to try and stop the bleeding, we wanted to finish B for the first time, and we would actually end up winning this round, but it's not in convincing fashion. First, my Viper just swings out of the smoke and kills KO, and while sitting in the corner, he would end up getting a second player. Right after, me and Viper would swing heaven, but unfortunately our timing is off, so I use my molly to give me a little time to run into elbow, and I hear the Chamber shoot his op from mid-link. So I decided to use my KO knife to make sure he can't use his headhunter, which should slow him down, and I'd end up getting a really good timing on Sova, and my Omen would win the 1v1 on site, giving us our first round of the half. That's great and all, but the problem is that this round came down to individual fights and a hero play from Viper. To expect that we can just do that again will certainly result in defeat, but we don't notice this at the time, so we call for a B slam with my ult, but my Waylay peaks way too early and dies. With no backup plan, we just commit to the site hit, but we get slaughtered. It's bad that we threw that round away, especially since it could have gotten us a ton of momentum, but we've got to move on. This time, we go for a simple mid refight. Once the smoke in mid is about to drop, we will fade dog to clear the close corners, and I'll use my flash to fight out as needed. But in response to this utility, the enemy used their saturate to keep us frozen in place, and they would flash out of the top mid smoke. With the combination of this flash, saturate, and the power of the Odin raining down bullets from top mid, we didn't stand a chance. If we want to prevent the enemy team from reaching match point, we are going to need to take mid control, but we don't want to refight for space against an Odin, so we make the plan to fight early instead. I'll use my knife on this wall to try and suppress the enemy Waylay, allowing us to walk up with less fear. My Waylay will use her dash into this corner, since we realize just how annoying it is on defense. Once we have this space, we can fight into A link or top mid as we please. So what actually happened? Exactly what I told you is what happened. This worked out pretty well actually, but there is just one tiny itty bitty problem I forgot to mention. They have a Sova ult, and I took a decent bit of damage from the Sova's Odin at the start of the round. So after the Waylay ulted me and got killed by my teammate, their Sova decided he wasn't having any of that, and the enemy team would collapse on mid with the support of a Sova ult, and we would lose again, giving our opponent match point. With defeat right around the corner, we stopped playing as a team. First, I abandoned my Waylay on the B main fight. Second, instead of retreating back with my Omen in a 4 versus 4, I decided to take a 1v1 against the opponent. Except, this isn't a 1 versus 1. I knifed KO and Omen earlier, and to assume that KO would be fighting alone is just stupid. Ironically, that's exactly what I'm doing, but regardless, I would end up getting killed after a very odd battle with flashes. And in the 2 versus 4, both our remaining players would fall, and we would lose our second game of Premier. Regardless, we actually ended up keeping our spot in first place. Now before we go any further, I've got to explain this team comp, or rather why I think it kinda sucks. The first agent we picked was Neon, and I think it makes a bunch of sense. Sunset has a major focus on one specific part of the map, A main. This is because having A main as a defender means that you only need one player to hold the entire line, and Neon is an incredible agent to fight this space on attack as her wall can split this lane in two, and her speed can be simply overwhelming to deal with. And on defense, her stun is a very potent ability in the A fight, making her an invaluable agent. But Neon does have one issue as an agent. She needs supportive utility to really shine. Abilities like flashes make Neon a nuisance to deal with, even to the point where agents as bad as Breach can begin to look playable. And on Sunset in particular, there is something Neon can do that no other agent can. You'll understand what I mean later in this video, so stick around, but the point is, Neon is simply one of the best agents on this map. And it's for this exact reason we actually chose Sage as our second pick. This might seem a little odd at first, but Sage is one of the only agents who can truly stop Neon from taking A. With this slow in A main at the start of the round, Neon players can't take the space quickly enough, meaning we can secure the A line. And Sage is even more important for holding A, since her wall can be used a few different ways to secure the space. Deep wall to replace the one-way smoke, wall A link to force the enemies through elbow, even a deep wall and elbow, forcing the opponent to watch out for shotguns. So does our next pick support Neon? Nope, it's Chamber. The simple fact that Chamber could be playing in B or in mid on defense forces our opponent to use a ton of information utility to clear the space. Otherwise, the op will simply get too much value. And on attack, he can contact into A main, forcing the enemy to use utility to get him off the line. And it only costs him a free ability. Okay. Does the 4th agent support Neon? It's Omen, so just a little bit. Omen's paranoia is broken on Sunset, but at this point, I feel like I've explained why Omen is so good enough times. The threat of this defensive A paranoia forces the enemy into using utility to take A main, and there are a ton of angles that Omen can abuse with his teleport, such as the market box, or above the A-Link smoke. Alright, surely the 5th agent supports Neon. We chose Fade. Sure, she's great at getting information for the Neon to play off, but there is a major problem with this team comp. Offensively, it struggles to take space with a lack of threatening utility, but on defense, it still struggles. And that's all because of one problem. This comp has nothing to refight space with. On a map like Sunset, especially in mid, Paranoia and Neon Stun is not good enough to cover all the problematic angles. And this comp defensively is super linear. So coming into game 1, I was worried, especially since our opponent had a Viper. One of the strengths of Viper is this A main orb, and in the very first round, it kept me A main while the enemy just hit the B site. And after ending up in a 3 versus 4, we didn't stand much of a chance, mainly because we don't have a ton of utility. Best case scenario, we only have Omen's Paranoia and Neon Stun for the retake. We've got a Fade Prowler to clear some of the initial corners, but if our opponent says even one strong stall ability, we are screwed. And we'd end up in the same situation in the very next round. That was expected since we had worse weapons, but with that in mind, you can see how our opponent should almost always have an ability that would completely shut down our retake, the Sage Slow. Now mind you, it did absolutely nothing in this round, but this ability makes retaking a nightmare. At least, it does against our comp. But now that we are on a full buy, we should convert the round. But things didn't go as planned, as the enemy would use this Viper Orb to lurk up and draw first blood in A main. But what does this Viper Orb actually do? Why is it so strong? The reason is actually quite simple. When defending on Sunset, or any map for that matter, you want to reduce the amount of angles that you and your team need to hold. This can be done in 2 ways: passive info gathering abilities and reducing lines through holding space. On Sunset, the only line that you can reduce is A main, turning what would be 2 separate holds in A-Link and elbow into a single angle in A main. But this Viper Orb changes things. First, it covers the one line, forcing you to hold either from elbow or A-Link, both of which are very awkward angles to hold, not to mention dangerous. And since Viper has full control as to when the orb is up or not, counterplay is extremely hard. And in this very important round, it led to a first kill, which led to another B retake, and we would lose the round again, giving our opponent the first 3 rounds to start off this match. One solution might be to get ahead of the Viper Orb and fight, although it is a little risky and not the most consistent. At the start of round 5, we end up losing again. Me and Sage spend way too much time focusing on this Viper Orb, and the enemy would just take B for free, getting the Viper's pit down, making the retake nearly impossible once again. And keep in mind, Viper kept 2 players A main without even being there. That's how overpowered this agent can be when used correctly. And guess what happens in round 6? That's right, we lose A, forced on a retake, and we lose again. If we want to even attempt to bring this game back from disaster, we need to change something. We start off by getting an operator online, which does help a bunch, but we really didn't end up changing the strategy all too much. The only change me and Sage do is this little bait and switch where I jiggle from elbow and he peeks off my contact, but it unfortunately only resulted in a 1-for-1 trade, and this round would end up being decided in another 1 versus 1. But I have a huge advantage as the Omen is 1 HP and I have my ultimate, so I decided to jump while shooting, making myself a near unkillable target. And now that we have our first round of the game, we change our setup to get the chamber ahead of the Viper Orb, which would lead to me rotating all the way deep into B site, where I was able to secure a kill on Sova during their site hit. And although we are down in a 2 versus 3, I am able to get 2 more kills with a nice shot on Sage and a good trade on the Omen. So what happened in the 1 versus 1 against Viper? If you said, fat finger my sprint key, jump with a classic, and get shortied, you'd be correct. The worst part about all this is I was hitting some nice shots, and now I panic. Whatever. We are down 1-8, and we end up on a retake on the site. But finally, we have the man advantage. So I'm able to use my stun to punish both players on A, and we secure our second of the half. And to close out this defensive side of Sunset, my chamber gets a disgusting flank in B main, securing 3 kills to close out the half. You know what? 4-8 isn't half bad, especially since we were down 7 rounds at one point. If we could just secure the pistol, we'd have a real shot at— We lost the pistol. I guess our opponent's gonna reach 10 rounds.
These spawn together?
Both.
I pivoted. I'm taking second. I'm like baiting.
1 enemy remaining.
Nice! Come on, guys!
Boys.
We win the eco round? We're not complaining. And I now get to show off the judge in the hands of a Neon. With Neon speed, the judge can be impossibly hard to deal with. The slide, walls to close the gap, and stuns to make your enemy's accuracy worse. Neon can really punish players. And one of the best places to use the judge is an elbow on the A site, as all the fights are really close range.
Oh, he has a Bucky's.
We got counter thrifted. The score is now 5-10. You know what? I need to redeem myself. I'm going to use the judge again, and I've got just the play to do so. At the start of every round, our opponent has been closing the market door, and assuming that they go for it again, that means our enemy will be standing right here at the start of the round. And because Neon is so fast, she's the only agent in the game who could make it into market before the door closes, or in this case, as the door closes, by using her slide to slip under the door. So how does that look in game? Now that I secure first blood, I take the front of site, waiting for this Viper wall to drop so my team could trade me if I die back site, and we secure the round, shrinking the gap to 4. In the very next round, we go for a late B split where my Omen Paranoia is market for me as I shoot the low HP door, and I'm able to secure a kill on Sage. It's right here I begin to over-aggress. I have no reason to be fighting for spawn, and I would end up getting dropped to 21 HP as a result of my bad fight. But as I run away, my Viper tells me that we have numbers, and that I should try to live as long as possible. So I end up silently rapping all the way through the enemy spawn, where I would manage to get another 2 kills before overheating a 3rd time. So with the gap now down to 3 rounds, this happens.
Oh no.
This is a disgusting wall that lets you peek into A main from the window and elbow. And although this won't work more than once or twice a half, it sure is one hell of a gimmick wall. But it's all good because I end up getting revived. And this was especially important since I had my full kit online, which allowed me to get an entry pick on the Sova, and I'd use my ult to trade my team. And with that round, the gap has now shrunk to 2. With momentum on our side, we think a tempo change is best. So we just slam the B site and we manage to take it with 0 resistance. And the thing is, our opponent also struggles with retaking, which allowed me to go for a super late flank in mid after I took the site, and we would clean up the round as a result, shrinking the gap to a single round. In response to this, our opponent used their Viper ult into B main to stop another rush. But there is just one problem. I once again have bought a judge, which is one of the most lethal weapons in a Viper's pit. So after taking market off the barrier drop, pushing Sage away in the process, I enter the pit, look around for a while before determining that Viper is tucked, and I win the 1v1, opening up the round. And once again, we would win, officially tying up the score. Despite all odds, we have somehow managed to claw back a game that should by all accounts have been over. At one point, the score was 1-8, and even after getting 4 rounds on defense, it managed to reach 5-10, yet now we are even at 10 apiece. And with momentum on our side and a little bit of judge shenanigans, we take our first lead. You would think that with all this momentum and confidence, I would play with no fear, right? We decided to go for a B split into top mid, and after stunning Viper, I do this.
I'm all in
Spike
now.
down.
Oh my god, 133, Viper dead.
Last player standing.
That's insane.
Why did I not swing a fully stunned enemy? And why did I swing while I was paranoid? Whatever. We still won 6 in a row, so I decided to go for another B rush. While taking back sight, I hear a player jump into the CT smoke, and since I know roughly where they are, I use my slide to get this honestly ridiculous kill. So up into 5 versus 3 with the bomb down, surely we couldn't lose this round, right?
One more smoke for CT in 7 seconds.
Just jiggling. Be ready to No, fight no, off. smoke for me. Smoke for me here. Oh, my
Here,
god.
here, 3 seconds, 3 seconds.
I'm dead. A shot. Never mind. I'm dead.
Don't even matter anymore.
Bad blind.
120 on Sova.
Last
117.
player standing.
3 of them are 1. Oh,
Take time out.
why did we leave stairs?
Our opponent is now at match point. If we lose this next round, all of our efforts would have been for nothing. So with all the pressure on the line, we take a timeout and make a plan. We are going to take in a market by using the same utility as we did the first time I killed Sage. First, I will buy a judge and slide under the market door as it closes. At the same time, my fade will ult all of market, dropping the HP of the Sage in half, all the while being super loud and noticeable. While this happens, my Sage and Chamber will wall on top of this box, giving them a disgusting angle into top mid. This will not only protect me from an initial hold, but it will also cut off the A rotates, and my fade will not run into B main after this, because this play is actually a fake. Yes, in this round, I am a sacrificial lamb. I will sprint into market, take my fights, and go down knowing that my team can take me over the line. If it means bringing this game to overtime, I will gladly put myself on the line, even though I know I will die.
This thing coming for a while or not?
Oh my god, Sage is there too. Swung on smoke. Swung on smoke.
Let's go.
Viper CT, 65.
He's in the ult. He's in that ult. Yeah.
One enemy remaining.
On site. Nice!
Shit, come on!
Despite it looking a little shaky at the end, my team brings us to overtime. And there's a certain theme that I noticed during overtime games, and I'm guilty of it myself. With the amount of pressure that overtime puts on a team, players often play incredibly reserved, which means that taking awkward timings and overly ambitious plays often works more than it should. 4 weeks ago on Abyss, the moment overtime hit, I went for a mid walk, and it worked perfectly. And it's because of how I play overtime that I assume my opponent would do the same, specifically this Viper. I am going to make the read that she will just swing through her orb, so I will play right in front of it. If If I'm wrong, the enemy could have multiple players in the smoke, and I could lose the round on the spot. But in this round, I was right. Unfortunately for me, however, we would still end up losing the round, putting our opponent on match point. So with everything on the line once again, I call for a play that hasn't worked once this game. A simple elbow rush. Last time, I got killed by a Bucky, but seeing as this is overtime, it's very unlikely that Neon would have a shotgun here. After waiting in A main for a while, our opponent pushes back into elbow, catching us by surprise. And although I managed to trade my team, turning this round into a 2 versus 2, I am one shot to any rifle. So with match point breathing on my back, I keep pushing. If I can just turn this into a 2 versus 1, my teammate should be able to trade me to secure the round.
One enemy remaining.
Let's kill.
Be ready to swing left side of the box, Jeff.
Nice, guys! Good fucking round, Bryce.
There's only 30 seconds left in the very next round, but I make a brutal mistake on the A side of the map. The moment our opponent started to slam A, I should have just gotten off, but I instead tried to stay on site, all while exposing myself to the Neon in A lane, and I would die, losing us this round. And while on the verge of losing once again, it is up to my teammates to secure this round, and in this moment, one player stepped up.
Off summon, off.
Last player standing.
Nice!
Yes! Good fucking job, Seth. Come on, man.
This is Seth, and he has kept us in this game, but unfortunately, he can only do so much, as we would lose the very next round on, guess what? Another retake. But again, our opponent's comp also struggles to retake, so we opted for an A fake into a B hit, where we would end up in a 5 versus 5 post plant.
I'm blind.
One enemy remaining.
No.
Swing.
Nice!
Unlike the last time the score was at 15 to 15, we now know that this is the final round. Everything has been leading up to this. Every read, every aggressive play, every failed retake. Lose now, and we risk losing our spot as the #1 team. Win here, and we keep our place at the top. So with all the knowledge in the previous rounds, I make a plan.
This is the last round. I think we've had a lot more success retaking A. Can we actually gamble the retake A?
Here's the full picture. Viper has been a massive thorn in our side, so I need to find a solution. So I call my Chamber to hold the A line. If I can get Chamber on this line, he has a good chance of getting one and escaping, setting us up for the A retake. And if nobody's A, he can gather a ton of information, allowing us to stack the B site. To ensure that I can rotate over to B in time, since we need this Viper orb to drop, my Sage will use her wall and B main off rip, and she will use as many slows as she needs to stall a rush. And once this is all said and done, we should have Chamber posted on A, Fade top mid toward B, Omen in market, Sage back site, and myself in the cubby of B. This is it. Win or lose, this is the play I have made. So I make my call, my teammates get into positions, and the barriers drop.
Same setup again, guys. So it wasn't Sage towards
Silva, Silva Sage B.
B. Grabbing North B.
Sage. Got it.
Silva bottom mid.
They're fully set up for
man.
the spot.
Okay, blind ready for the...
Yo, I'm getting into this corner
market.
again.
Yeah,
Spawn to B.
I'm shift walking. They could have timing on me.
Yeah.
Blinded market just now.
Into market, blinding.
Out, behind you.
Smoking B main.
Oh, whoa.
30 seconds.
Oh, Neon out, nice.
Default. Wait for right. Look at flank.
109 Viper, 80 Neon.
Oh, bomb. Neon 1
Viper.
HP. They're both
109!
109.
Item 40.
Seize
One
Will.
HP.
Willie saw you. He's right on you.
1 HP, Will.
We win map 1, and we keep our spot in first place. So going into our second map, we wanted to ride this momentum and secure a 2-map lead in our division. And although we lose the pistol round and the anti-eco right after, we secure the full buy, which is better than we did last time. But unfortunately, the same issues from the last game come up once more. We are having a terrible time retaking the B site, and we give our opponent a big lead. But wait a minute, not all of our retakes have been bad. Matter of fact, we've been pretty good at retaking A. After killing the Cypher, I jump out to spot for info, and I see that ISO is trying to fight me, though unfortunately I miss my stun. But luckily for me, my slide is more than enough, and this kill gets my ult online, which I then pop mid-air, giving myself an incredibly hard to counter slide on the clove, and I clean up the round, showing that our A retakes aren't all too bad. It's just B that's the problem. As an adjustment to our A retake playstyle, our opponent decided to slam through mid, which I was able to punish with a phantom spam, and I would do the same in market, getting a second spam kill. So, how did the enemy adjust? They didn't. They decided to slam mid again, and again, and again, and again, and again. They won 6 rounds straight by slamming through mid, and we were simply getting outclassed. We needed to step up if we wanted to win this game, and in the pistol round, I did just that, getting a not so clean 2 kills in A main, and then finishing off the last player in the post plant. But this was just the start. We're going to need a lot more than just the pistol. So after winning the anti-eco, my team would end up in a 2 versus 4, but we have the bomb down.
Another one CT, he's 1 HP, the 1 HP guy. Don't take your fight. Another one behind you.
Enemy remaining.
Behind, lane.
Will. Yep. Pick up Will. Nice!
Come on!
My team steps up once again, and suddenly, we're only 3 rounds away. With the judge now in hand, I abuse its strength with Neon, taking elbow to catch the raise off guard. And I try to extend this man advantage by stunning and sliding on the ISO. And in the 3 versus 1, I just jump at Cypher with my judge in the hopes that our opponent would be scared of my shotgun in the coming rounds. We've now shrunk the lead to 2, and with this momentum, we slam A and get 3 kills on site. And once the round is effectively secured, I go for my own kills to build even more confidence, and it's working. We are now 1 round behind. With only a 1 round difference, we go for the same slide under the door play as last game, but it went horribly wrong.
3 mid, 3 mid, 3 mid, 3 mid.
4, that's 4 mid, guys, 4. I saw.
Okay, 130 isn't the end of the world. As long as we win the next round, we should be.
Enemy remaining.
Alright. We need to relax. This round, we go for an A slam, but I path left this time. By using this neon wall off rip, I am able to isolate the left side of A. And with the judge in hand, I am confident that I can get a kill and get out.
I'm blinding my box.
I'm still seized off.
I'm waiting.
We're going elbow side. We're changing the plan a little bit. I'm getting ult.
Okay.
There's an op elbow.
I'm redding.
Speeding up into elbow here is a massive mistake, and not just because there was an op posted there. We have the man advantage, and I now have my ultimate online. So why not just relax, regroup, and hit another site together? Why did I speed things up so much? Even though I get revived by my Sage, I no longer have any slide, which makes hitting A feel impossible, and we lose the round. And with our backs against the wall, our opponent is not missing a shot, and we would end up in a near unwinnable situation in the post plant.
Op is there.
First off.
Last player standing.
Thank you.
1 enemy remaining.
That's it. I'll go, bro. GG.
Despite my Omen's best efforts, we lose game 2, but we actually managed to keep our spot in first place. But what is this team comp, you may be asking? Well, let me explain. The first agent we picked was Astra, and it was for a few key abilities in her kit. First, the pullback star on B long. Just recalling the star at the beginning or middle of a round creates a bunch of pressure on the opponent. And Pearl has one of the single most annoying post plants to deal with over in B long. So having an Astra suck for the defuse is incredibly annoying. Plus, there are a bunch of nice places for the Astra stun, especially this one in B link on defense. Second, we picked Waylay. With the best gap closing in the game, Waylay made for the perfect entry. There are a ton of spots that Waylay can dive on attack, like Heaven on B, or over the default plant on A. And if you guess wrong on where the opponent is playing, you can just recall back. And the Saturate is one of the best abilities in the game right now. Waylay is simply really strong. But spoiler, we don't run a second duelist. So how can we support our Waylay? The answer is our third pick, KO. With some insane flash lines on this map, KO can sometimes feel completely overpowered. And since these flashes aren't useless like some other agents I know, KO can really set up Waylay for some insane kills. And KO's knife is incredible for some of the early fights on attack, and it's super valuable when stopping rushes on defense. But if you want to use this knife as an anti-rush tool, you need some other form of info gathering, and that's where Fade comes into the picture. Prowler is one of the best ways to clear mid space on attack, and the Haunt is super valuable for gathering early info. Plus on defense, Fade can play towards Art most of the round, gathering information through the window on A, using the Prowler to re-clear mid, and having a Seize to choke up any A hits. Although this is a lot of info, we want more, so our final pick is Killjoy, which I think is okay, but her turret and alarm bot do provide a ton of information on defense, and this turret on attack can be pretty helpful. But if I have the choice, I'd swap the KJ for a Chamber and the KO for a Yoru, but that's not important right now, because for the first game of the final week, we were faced up against an undefeated team, but since they had only started playing later into the season, they were scored 8-0, so this was a match of the undefeated versus the current number 1. Like every other match of Valorant, the pistol round is what started us off, and since I knew I was going to be playing KO on Pearl, I wanted to get ahead with some lineups. With me and Astra toward the B side of the map, our A is pretty heavily defended. Killjoy utility holds on to both parts of mid, with me and Killjoy moving around as needed, and my Waylay has the tools to fight into A main with the support of my Fade and Astra's global stars. But when it comes to A and art space, I kinda do nothing. I can't fast rotate, I can't send over flashes, and I can't help stop a rush. At least, that would be the case normally. To help with the potential A rush, I made this lineup from the bottom of B link. Just get yourself into the corner, put the right side of this little thing to the top left of this black box, and throw. This knife will take 5 seconds to land, but it has a few major benefits. First, it's unbreakable. This knife lands in a non-playable space, which is also covered by these tall metal walls. This makes the knife unseeable, unbreakable, and therefore effectively uncounterable. And this knife serves multiple purposes. If the enemy team is rushing into A main and my team has decided to contest the space, this knife will suppress any players fighting. But what if the enemy dumps a bunch of utility at the start of the round? Wouldn't the knife come in too late? For the A fight, yes. But this would stop any attempt at an A rush, since the enemy would have to play from all the way back here just to avoid this knife. And there's a bunch more utility with this knife. It can be thrown mid-round for info, late A re-clears, or even just just figuring out if the enemy has a bunch of players at A at the start of the round. Now that you know the knife lineup I learned, what actually happened?
Wait, we can fight this. I think enough.
Yeah, fast art players. Already through art.
Through art, guys. Focus
Fight
main.
in the main.
104, 104.
No one else main. No one else main. It's all the art players.
Did you spot it? My team fought for A main, got a kill, and then the knife confirmed that Clove was the only player there. So despite tagging 0 players with this knife, I was able to make the call that all remaining players were toward or in art. This led to our opponent needing to slow down the round. And despite this honestly disgusting shot from the enemy fade, my team would close out this round, which with our superior weapons and some nice utility usage, we were able to clean out the second round. And we would end up trying to convert our bonus round with a big mid fight where I was originally going to flash, but my team just ended up contacting all the way, which quickly fell apart, leading to a 2-1 scoreline in our favor. And to start off the very next round, I line up the knife from before. So I mess up my own lineup in round 4, which lets our opponent take the site. You want to know the worst part about this? In this round, all 5 players are in A main, and this knife would have been perfectly timed. Unfortunately, I only make it after my entire team dies, but I've got 2 flashes.
Last player standing.
That run and gun from the Killjoy has brought this to a 1 versus 1 that lasted what feels like a lifetime, but we were luckily able to close it out, giving ourselves a 2-round lead, which in the blink of an eye, this lead has now vanished. To try and regain the lead, we go for a mid fight, but this round falls apart faster than you can hit the subscribe button, and we lose again. So the enemy, realizing that we are on worse weaponry, decides to slam B, and what do you know? We lose another round. And another. And yes, another. We just lost 6 rounds in a row. We need to take a timeout, and we need to think of something quick. The enemy has just been hitting sites, and even when they go mid and we take the fight to them, we still lose. So I make a new plan. My Killjoy will place her alarm bot in street and her turret in A link to gather as much info as needed. My Fade and Waylay are just going to sit on the A site. No A main fight, just bunker down the site. If the enemy goes A, they will have enough people to fight for the site, and if any of the mid util goes off, it'll be my job to deal with the new gaps created. If the enemy goes B, this knife from street should stall long enough at least for my Killjoy to rotate over to site, and we can once again have a 3-man hold. The former is exactly what happens, as the enemy goes for an immediate A rush, utilizing the Fade ult off rip, which triggers my rotation into mid link, and the moment our turret is broken, I look for a 1v1 with my flash on the Killjoy, and I secure the kill. While this all happened, my team was able to kill all but 1 on site, and we would finally be able to secure another round on defense. So we think it's best to go for the exact same setup in the last round of the half. So as the enemy smokes B link and breaks the alarm bot, I flash through and secure a kill, but I get traded right away. My Asher would do the exact same thing on B, getting her kill and then getting traded, which put my team on the retake. And this round is incredibly important for us, as getting to 5 rounds would mean that winning the pistol effectively ties the game. But if we lose the retake, our opponent will have double the rounds.
Back call and then off base default. Push the corner.
Still stuck right.
Where they are?
One enemy remaining.
Unknown.
Mid link, like, yeah, we're ulting. Chill.
Last player standing.
He's gonna go for it.
Yella. Come on.
Nice try.
Unfortunately, we don't wait for the Waylay ultimate, and we lose the retake. But this misfortune doesn't end here. On the first round of attack, the enemy Fade just swings out and deletes 2 of us, so we lose the pistol. And the following round was no different. Now down 4-10, we need to win our full buy. But this shouldn't be hard. We've got better weapons, and we're all grouped for an A hit. How could we possibly lose this round?
Flashing now. 3, 2, 1, pop. Second backside. One backside. Jet.
30 seconds left.
You think?
Still backside. Still backside. Nice. I have no more.
I'm flying default.
I have nothing.
Nice.
Yeah, 78 on no, 40. Never mind. Off.
Let's do.
Pushing you main. Yeah.
Last player standing.
This round sealed our fate, and we simply didn't stand a chance. We rushed A in the very next round and lost again. So with the score tied at 4-12, we call for a mid rush, which fails, and we lose this game 4-13. After 6 weeks of Premier, we had only lost 3 games, but these weren't blowouts by any means. Week 2, we lost our first, 10-13. Week 5, we lost 8-13, and the last week on Sunset, we lost 8-13 as well. But we had never been beaten this bad. If something doesn't change now, we are going to lose our next game in the exact same way. So what did we do? We said, screw the Killjoy. We want Chamber. We had a major problem with early main fights last game, and Chamber was the solution to that. His TP is perfect for the long sightlines of B, and he's a good agent to throw over towards A if we're getting overwhelmed. And if we're being honest, Chamber is a lot more scary than Killjoy. It's not easy playing against an agent that can just snap his fingers and disappear. So although this agent swap isn't going to magically fix all of our problems, it's a good mental reset, which we desperately need going into the start of game 2, especially since we lose the pistol round. It's definitely not the best way we could have started this game, and we'd end up in a less than ideal spot on our full buy round. What does that mean exactly? I'm talking about a 2 versus 4 in favor of our opponent.
Oh, fake
secret?
flower as well. 2 flower, 1
2.
secret.
81 on the Astra.
Too slow.
One enemy remaining.
81.
81 last.
Nice shot.
Nice. Okay.
We got bailed out, but this seems to just be an outlier of a round. We would tie the score with an A retake and a well-timed flash, and we would extend this into a lead by retaking the B site. And I've gotta say, these flashes are all connecting, and there's something so satisfying about fully blinding an enemy with KO. And with our new 1-round lead, we managed to turn round 6 into a 4 versus 1, an unlosable situation.
One enemy remaining.
Balling's up. Oh, dude, he was default.
Last player standing.
11 bullets. That's it.
Hey, the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have killed him.
I do not have an explanation for what I was doing, and I don't think my team does either. We just came off our single worst performance in Premier thus far. We even changed our team comp just so we can get some confidence back. A blunder like this is the last thing we needed, but at the very least, it is still early game. So as long as we don't throw away another round like that, we should be fine. Unfortunately, the next round doesn't start off the way we want it to, as we would go down to a 3 versus 5. But since my team had gotten a few players low, I time my molly throw into A main as the Waylay ult goes off, and I managed to get a trade. After retreating to secret, I pop my KO ult, both to remove any potential utility from the enemy, while at the same time turning my stinger into an absolute laser of a weapon. And I chuck a flash high into the sky to blind any players in A main. While moving on to site, my teammate gets killed by Phoenix from behind, so I pull out my flash, wait till he's close, and I swing with the blind, securing us the lead once more. Every piece of my kit was used to its max that round. The molly to secure a trade, the long flash into the sky to kill the Astra, the ultimate to make me shoot unbelievably fast, and the underhand flash to secure the round. If the last round killed our confidence, this one brought it right back. We are more than in this game. And in the very next round, I am tested again, as I've now got to lock down the A site against a Phoenix ult.
That's
Joke's over! You're dead!
But I'm
Getting out.
One enemy remaining.
Moving on left.
Spike down A.
So live. It's just Phoenix ult.
There's a lot more that happened than what meets the eye. After getting a kill on the art player swinging me, I throw an underhand flash on the right side of site, but I peek to the left. Why? If I flash and peek to the right, I would still kill Fade, who just came out of A main. Or do I? There's a few problems with going right. First, the Phoenix ulted from art, so if my flash doesn't go wide enough, he would be able to kill me before I could see Fade. The second reason I went left is simple psychology. When a player gets fully blinded, they tend to try and run into cover as fast as possible. And since the flash came from the right side of back sight, Fade would naturally look to run the opposite direction, which means that she'll naturally feel like running over to this cubby as a way to escape, as it's away from the blind, not toward it. Now, after I get this kill, I have no reason to swing and fight Phoenix here. This was simply a bad play. But with it now being a 2 versus 1, where the bomb is dropped and Phoenix only has a sheriff, surely we play together and close out this round. Surely we couldn't lose a round like this, right?
30 seconds left. Last player
come in.
standing.
40.
Literally all we had to do was have Chamber hold the cross and Fade peek off the contact. But by giving a 1v1, Phoenix was able to get his flashback online, which is the one thing an Outlaw would struggle to beat in this situation. And this killed any momentum we may have had. And we would get slaughtered at the very next round since we have inferior weapons. This game does stay tight, however, as we were able to hold down B during their split. But there hasn't been a lead larger than 2 all game. And that doesn't change here. The very next round, we lose. The final round of the half, we win. We are going into the second half tied at 6 apiece. Had we not thrown away those 2 pivotal rounds, the score would have been 8-4 at the worst. But we'll just have to settle for a tie at the half. Unfortunately, somebody has to win the pistol. And unfortunately, that somebody isn't going to be us, which means our opponents can have a 2-round lead. Unless...
I just got the other. Nice.
That is...
Heaven, or outside somewhere.
Tell me when my heaven's like fully exposed, guys.
Close CT. 1.
Three kills.
Astra CT.
One enemy remaining.
Last CT.
Out.
Last player standing.
Nice try.
Nice try.
I got so worried that I would miss the shot that, well, I ended up being right. After getting not 1, not 2, but 3 massive kills, this is where I panic. And although we were never supposed to win this round, it stings just as much as round 4 and 6 did. I should have won, but I messed up. But at least we're going on to our full buy this round, which means we'll shrink the gap to only 1 round, and we would end up in a 5 versus 3.
4 art. I'm planning 4 art. Oh, not
Art.
art.
One
Hey,
in art,
yeah,
one in
R1. I'm planning for it.
I'm one wing art, one wing art.
Long. You dug out. You have to fight art.
Oh, break that.
Kill 3v2, sucks so.
Last player
Campion,
standing.
campion. 120 chamber.
What
the?
That should have been a free round, and we blew it. By some miracle, we managed to win the next round by hitting B, but if we want to take this game back, we are going to need to do so by force. And I want redemption at the A site. I will not let something like that happen again.
Blind backside. That's blind backside.
Explode.
Art team.
Nice.
One more backside.
One enemy remaining.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm just planning.
Obviously good. Nice.
It's a nice 3 kills, but I want to show you how I die here. Look at how my left-handed model betrays me by completely covering the Astra. Still much better than right-handed though. Anyway, we'd end up winning the next round with some cringe Astra post plant, and suddenly, the game is tied again. While planting the bomb on the default of A, I realize that I am trapped. So if I want to get us the lead with this round, I'm going to need to hold down my line. No utility, just raw aim and movement.
40 on chamber. One more secret.
One enemy
Yes.
remaining.
Ignoring this incredible flash I throw here, we secure the round, and we have finally taken back our lead. It is now our job to secure this game. So what happens in the next round? After hitting A, we end up in a 3 versus 3 with 1 enemy A main, 1 in art, and the 3rd unknown. The obvious play is for us to plant back site and flip the map, and look for a 3 versus 1 on the missing player who is likely in spawn. But what actually happened? We planted back site, I went to spawn way too early and lost my 1v1, and we would lose the lead. And even more unfortunately, we would end up giving the opponent a 1-round lead right away as we would crumble during a late B hit. Every hit we've gone for this game has been super late, so we decided to change the tempo and go for a very risky play. We are going to rush the B site, and we are going to place this honestly terrible Astra wall. This wall is so bad because it allows the enemy to run out back site and flood, but we only have one goal. We just wanted to get the bomb down and play a deep post plant. So for this play and this play alone, using our Astra wall so close to the plant should actually work decently well, except for one tiny little problem.
Yeah, we gotta go now.
Look my flank chip, guys.
He's in smoke.
It's smoke. It's about to pick up.
We have sucked for
smoked out.
first. We have sucked for first as well.
You want to fight it?
You know the
Done.
Last player standing.
Round.
Our opponent has made it to match point. We have never lost both maps of Premier in the same week, and we do not want that to change. But it's this exact line of thinking that will ultimately lose us this game. After faking a hit into A, we spend way too much time in the mid connector, afraid that we might make a mistake. But it's ironic, really. In our best efforts to make no mistakes, we have inadvertently made a huge one, and the enemy team would slowly collapse on us in mid. First, I die. My Waylay is the next to go, and my Fade follows shortly after. The comms are silent as my chamber is dropped. And lastly, Astra is killed. We have officially lost back-to-back games, and our spot at the top has fallen alongside it. After 7 weeks of Premier, we have finished with a record of 9 wins and 5 losses, placing us in 2nd place for the contender division. But none of that matters now, because all of these games have been leading up to a single event, playoffs. And when do they start? If we win, we will be promoted to the highest tier 3 division, and me and my team will have earned a gun buddy that is more rare than Radiant. But if we lose, all of our progress will have been for nothing. And to make matters worse, these playoffs are single elimination. So if we lose at any point in this tournament, we are done. There are no second chances. So who are the teams we will need to defeat in order to win? Our opening match is against Freak Shack. I'll go more in depth on them later. On our side of the bracket, we've got Gang Disciples versus Party Kids, both of which beat us during the regular season. First, Gang Disciples on Corrode, 18-13, and Party Kids on Sunset, also 8-13. On the opposite side of the bracket, we've got Castle's Kittens versus Double Tap. We've never played against Castle's Kittens, and we beat Team Double Tap on Corrode, 13-7. At the end of the bracket, we've got Melting Point versus Mega Knight, both of which we've never ended up facing in the regular season. But none of these teams matter to us right now. We've got to focus on the team right in front of us, and well, we actually remember them quite well. During the first week of Bind, we faced off against Freak Shack, and we managed to win a tight game that ended 13-11 in our favor. And this team didn't forget. They wanted revenge. We were the first to ban, and we chose Haven. The second map to go? Split. They likely saw that we went 2-0 on Split and didn't want to deal with it. Our next ban is Corrode. We just didn't feel very comfortable on the map. The fourth to go is Pearl, and seeing as we went 0-2 yesterday on that map, we are very happy with this choice. For our final map ban, we choose Abyss, leaving Bind and Sunset as the final two choices. Do they pick Bind, the same map we had already beaten them on, or do they pick Sunset, taking a shot in the dark? They choose Bind. They want to get back at us for the loss, and they wouldn't do so on the very same map. And since they got to choose which map we were going to play, we get to pick the side, and we chose defense. After selecting our agents of Viper, Taeho, Sky, Clove, and Waylay, we realized that our opponent didn't change their bind comp at all. They were still running an Astra, Sage, Neon, Viper, and Sova, which should really struggle in the attack half. With a Sage, Viper, and Astra, this team will be very hard to deal with in the post plans. Their win condition is to get the bomb down, stall the retake with Sage slows in the Viper orb, and secure the round with the Astra pull and Viper molly. But actually getting on a site to begin with is the problem, as they only have Neon with the support of a Sova. So for them to have a chance at getting set up in the post plant, they will need to either have a man advantage before hitting site, or successfully hit the weaker side of the map. And in the opening round of playoffs, they do just that, as they have two players show themselves over in A short, which triggers me to rotate, making the B site super easy to hit. And although I do make it back in time to help stop a B hit, my Viper goes down, which means I have no chance of holding the site all by myself, so I run back to hold elbow for my team. But I went too fast and lost my fight, and we would end up losing the pistol round. So with worse weapons in hand, we want to set up some conditioning on our opponent. In the last round, and in this round, we've thrown a smoke in A short, and we plan on using it to fight out of, potentially catching them off guard. This will make our opponent worry about whether or not we're actually behind the smoke, or if we're just using it to stall them. But there is one problem. They have already had to deal with this push before, and they were more than ready this time around. So we lost this round in a quick fashion. But since we didn't buy any good weapons, we've got plenty of money coming into the next round, and we should be at a major advantage. That's not great, but luckily my IGL was able to get a trade, so we're now in a 4 versus 3. And with a deep flank for my Viper, this is now a 3 versus 3. But for whatever reason, the enemy feels like they need to push into us and take more space, which lets me and Taeho both get a kill, and we would be able to close out this round. So despite being in a 3 versus 5, we managed to win it out. And losing a round where you have 2 more players alive than your opponent should not be happening. And in no way should you lose a round like this. I mean it, you should never lose a round where you have a 2-man advantage. It's now a 3 versus 1 in the very next round. A 2-man advantage, if you will.
Just hold, just hold.
Last player standing. Clutch.
Losing this round is a lot worse than you would initially think. First, we are now on a half buy, and not a good one at that. We've got all 3 types of shotguns, I've got a Stinger, and I'm the only player who has any type of armor. But that's not all. Our opponent has an Astra ult, Viper ult, and Sova ult. But bigger than all of that is the mental aspect. Losing a round like this is just a terrible feeling. But if we're to even have a chance in this game, we've got to see if we can somehow manage to win this round with a low buy. And to make matters worse, our opponent has decided to use their Astra ult. Well, maybe this isn't as unfortunate as I make it out to be. In fact, this wall might be a blessing in disguise. This wall lets me and my team flood out into the back site and set up a retake. My Taeho uses his drone through the wall and pops it right away to reveal the entire site. And with the corner of my eye, I spot that Sage is all alone in bench, and I've got a flash.
Front of your bench.
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 Truck. Yo, default short.
I don't have a gun, guys. Bait me.
I'm walled. I can do it. Nice.
We win the Thrifty, and we play to extend our lead by switching up our positions and taking fights to our opponent, using ults to secure big rounds, confidently holding angles, and we are simply winning. And we've now taken the lead over Freak Shack. We're in the flow, we're playing with confidence, and despite the 1 round difference, it feels like winning this game is a matter of when, not if. But that's not how this goes down. We don't just waltz our way into victory. No. This game takes a turn for the worst. Round 8 starts off normal. My Waylay gets shot through a smoke, but I'm able to get the trade, and although I do get killed by the Sova ult right after, my team does well to make this round winnable, but they can't quite take it over the line. Round 9 starts off incredibly well for us. As the enemy team hits B, me and my Viper are both able to secure a kill, and we realize that this was actually just a fake. The enemy is really going A. As long as we make sure we are in tradable positions, we should win this round with ease. But my Taeho dies alone. It's a 4 versus 3. I try to make up for it by going for a hero play when there really is no reason to. It's now a 3 versus 3. My Waylay does great to get a kill on Sage. It's a 3 versus 2. The enemy Viper swings out of her ult, kills Clove, but my Waylay trades by spamming some shots with the Judge. It's now a 2 versus 1. Viper gets on the bomb as fast as possible, but with time ticking down, we are forced to stick, and the enemy Astra wins the 2 versus 1. Round 10 starts with a good kill in hookah, but the enemy would get 2 on the A site, and we would be in a near impossible retake. Round 11, the enemy Viper is catching good timings, and we fall apart quickly. This utility is too hard to deal with. Stuns, mollies, Sage slows. It feels like we're being constricted. Round 12 ends as fast as it begins. We instantly lose 2 duels within the first 10 seconds, and we lose again, ending this half with only 4 rounds to our name. With the new half starting, we have an opportunity to regain some momentum and bring this game to a closer score. We expect that our opponent will fight into A short, or at the very least have multiple people holding it. This is because we went for a 3-man short hit the last time we played this team on Bind. So with this expectation in mind, we decide to play heavy toward B long. The plan is to take B long early into the round. Our Clove and Viper will hold for any aggression in short and showers respectively, so if our enemy pushes Clove at the start of the round just like we expect, we will still have smokes, even if Clove goes down. If the enemy doesn't show many players toward A, we can just speed up into B. And if A is heavily contested, Clove will wrap back to B long and Viper will go late into hookah, ensuring that all of our bases are covered. It's a relatively simple play, but as long as we correctly read our opponent's positions, we should have a good chance at winning this round, giving us a foothold back into this game. So, how does this round start? Well, the enemy decided to push out of hookah, but our Clove was quick to notice that A short was quiet and decided to cover for a hookah push instead. This triggered our Viper to rotate, and he made the call that 2 players actually did fight short, and he would go down with a 1-for-1 trade. This triggered us to take the teleporter toward A. It's now a 3 versus 3, with 1 player short, 1 spawn, and the final player unknown.
Yeah, he's you all.
Or you fight you all first.
I'm missing
Yeah.
it. Could be close left. That's one. Missile.
What's he here?
Yeah, he's there. He's close.
12 seconds. 12 seconds.
Last player standing.
That's it.
I thought you were still coming with me.
We lose the pistol round. And with the next round going as expected, our opponent is now on double digits. After 7 weeks of Premier, we ended up as the 2nd best team in the entire division. And up until the final week, we were the #1 team. Freak Shack was one of our first wins in this league. And yet, this team now has a 6-round lead on us, on the defensive half, with a super defensive comp. If we're even going to have a chance at winning this game, we need to stop thinking about the game as a whole. We need to win 1 round at a time, brick by brick. And it all needs to start with our full buy round. We have better weapons, minus our waylay with a shotgun, and with a simple plan of taking B long and pivoting into A, we should have this round relatively easily. But as we begin to rotate over towards A, our Viper gets walked up on by the enemy Sova, completely alone. And although we no longer have any space toward the A side of the map, we stick with our plan. After slowly clearing space towards showers, we hit the site. But there is a big problem. Not one player on the enemy team was on A, meaning they were setting up for a 5-man retake. So understanding that we will lose this round if we don't make something happen, my waylay makes a call.
Planning.
I'm just taking a gamble here.
Yeah, go for it, go for it.
30 seconds left.
Spike planted.
This gamble of pushing the spawn with the judge was perfect, and we finally end our loss streak of 7 rounds. The gap has shrunk to 5. The next round begins with a fast A hit. We thought that a change in tempo would be best to catch the enemy by surprise, but our Viper is once again killed outside of showers, so we decided to take the teleporter and rotate extremely fast. But why? Well, at the start of the round, our Tejo drone confirmed that Sage and Neon were A, nothing out of the ordinary. The enemy Sova killed our Viper in showers, so we know there are 3 players A. But the moment I see Astra towards showers, I realize that the enemy has stacked A super heavy, so I make the call to take the teleport and look for a 1 versus 4 on the Viper. After taking the B site, we go re-clear long and don't see Viper, so we've got the time to plant the bomb. But we don't want to get pinched on site. Viper could still be anywhere, so we need to make a play.
We're fighting to elbow after the flash? I have it.
Yeah.
Spike planted.
Go now.
Flash,
Go now.
flash.
Look out.
1 TP, Silla.
We made the right read. The enemy was waiting for their Viper in deep B long. So after fighting elbow as a team, we were able to close out this round and remove the AWP from the hands of the enemy. The gap has now shrunk to 4. With our opponent on worse weapons, we decide to keep it simple, so we go for a showers take, but we are contested by a molly and a neon stun. But with the knowledge that our weapons are better, we decide to keep moving forward since the neon stun is the one ability that could have really punished us. And we would get a relatively clean sight hit, closing out this round with a single death. The gap is down to 3. The enemy takes a timeout. We want to keep this game simple. We are going for the exact same play, but I've noticed a tendency from our opponents. They love to play close on sights, so I call for either me or Tejo to hold on to one of our drones, and we'll use it on the sight hit to make clearing those angles a lot easier. The showers take goes without any issues, and we now have the space. So after a bit of waiting, we go for the A hit. We get the first pick, and we set up on sight. My Tejo ends up getting 3 kills, and I get the last on Neon. And with that, the gap is down to 2. The next round starts with us breaking the wall over towards short, and my Viper gets a massive first kill. And at the same time, he realizes that a second player walked down hookah, so we pinch on the enemy Viper with a sky flash and our waylay's double dash, securing the kill. And the enemy Sage would attempt to salvage this round by taking the teleporter. And well, let me show you how that went.
Done
With that kill, this round is over. The gap is down to 1. With the pressure now firmly on our opponents, we decide to let them make mistakes. The enemy Sova has fought Showers all alone several times this half, and we think he might just do that again, and we were dead on with this read. This led to the A site being virtually undefended, and we set up for an aggressive post plant. But with the enemy having an Astro Wall, we need to make sure we are ready to close the distance, and fast.
Look left, look left.
Yeah.
We,
Three.
bombs on our side.
That was clean.
One enemy remaining.
Spawn.
Nice. Just get off, get off. Beautiful.
Yo, their Astra just threw so hard. Put that on.
The nerves have gotten to our opponents as they have misplaced their Astra ult. But can you really blame them? The originally 6-round gap hasn't just shrunk, it's completely gone. And this game is tied at 10 apiece. This led to us hitting B with everything we've got. We have our Viper's Pit, a round altering ability. And since we've been hitting A on repeat, we figure a B slime will catch the enemy off guard. This may be one of the most important rounds of the half. And unfortunately for me, I get destroyed by the Astra and Elbow. But it's still a 4 versus 5. With the Viper's Pit down, this round should be ours.
Lucky backside.
There's there.
Backside, backside.
In my smoke, in my...
One enemy remaining.
Nice!
Oh, there we go.
That 1 versus 3 clutch has given us the lead. The gap is back to 1, but this time, it's in our favor. Unfortunately for us, however, we wrongfully assumed that the enemy Sova would be alone in Showers again in the very next round, and both initiators would drop right away. But with a nice lurk from our Viper, we were able to take the B site for free, and it's now up to my team to hold down the site in a 3 versus 3.
Elbow out. You should look elbow. Look elbow for them. Bull's in the smoke, yeah. Bull's holding smoke. We're good.
Peeking, go.
One enemy remaining.
Nice.
Slow now,
Live
slow,
now.
slow,
60
slow.
left, 60.
Stuck left.
Nice, boys!
We are now on match point, but this game wasn't going to be given to us for free. To start the round, my Clove gets picked off in short. It's a 4 versus 5. We regroup short to look for a pick, and the enemy Sova swings into us, killing me but getting traded right after. It's now a 3 versus 4. We group up to hit the B site over towards long, but the enemy Sage is 1 step ahead, killing our Tejo before getting traded herself. It is now a 2 versus 3.
Zone nuke one.
Yeah, boy.
Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
Nice! Oh my god.
Somehow, despite being down 6 rounds at one point, we win the first round of playoffs. And there was one player who was the spearhead of this match. My Viper player Will is the one who kept us in this game. Even when we were down 4 to 10, he kept the team's energy up in spite of a poor situation. And when it mattered most, Will took us over the line with a 1 versus 3 in round 21 and closing out this map with a clutch. So with our hearts still racing, the second round is announced. We will be playing against Party Kids. This is the same team that beat us on Sunset during week 6, and they were running a very unconventional team comp. But like I said during week 6, I think their team comp was just bad. So as long as we take this team to a map we are better at, I think we've got a real good shot. As the highest seeded team, we ban first, and we once again choose Haven. Party Kids ban Corrode. Not wanting to play this team again on Sunset, we choose to ban it. Our comp was just too weak last time. Party Kids choose to ban Abyss, which leaves us with an easy choice. We ban Pearl, and we wait for the final map to be decided. Bind, the map we just came out of with a dominant comeback. Or Split, the map we lost the least amount of rounds on during the regular season. They choose Bind, and we once again choose Defense. As we lock in our agents and load into the map, we notice something pretty significant. Our opponent isn't running a Viper. Now, why does this matter exactly? You see, by substituting Viper for a Cypher, you gain a few advantages on defense. You have more info, better stall with the trips, and overall more annoying setups to deal with. But that's a minor upside. There is a major downside to not running a Viper on attack. This wall and orb combo in A short fundamentally changes how you must defend A by forcing us to keep multiple players to hold for the Viper lurk. Otherwise, she can catch insane timings. But with no Viper, we can do, well, anything really. Hold from Heaven, jiggle from U-Haul, hold from Showers. So with all that in mind, we were excited for attack. But since they had a double Sentinel comp, we wanted to get as many rounds on defense as possible. We start off with a short fight, and after securing the first kill, we pinch on Showers with info from the drone. I flash, and we fight, resulting in a flawless round. As expected, we win round 2 with ease. It's now time to see if we can convert the bonus. After I secure a kill on Clove with the Outlaw, we go for the defuse with our Clove smoke from the dead. But with the enemy Sage slow in the smoke, I'm not able to enter very fast, so me and my Whaley would both get killed by the Cypher, and we would end up losing because of this. But we did take 3 guns off the enemy, and we learned some crucial information. We need to stop the enemy from planting. Otherwise, the combo of Sage and Cypher will be too overwhelming to retake against. We can do this through a few means, but the main one is to focus our Tejo missiles into denying plants and breaking the Sage wall, which then lets us spam the smokes for even even more stall. In round 4, this strategy works, and our salvos create so much pressure that the Sage ends up just trying to wall off showers instead of all a sight, which actually blocked the Cypher in the post plant, resulting in a pretty clean win, which meant that our economy was looking really good. So to capitalize on this, we decided to buy an operator and set it up in showers with my flash, turning into a kill. You may note that I have a stinger. That's because I was the only one without any money. But since I see an opportunity to catch Cypher off guard, I go for it with no hesitation, since even if I die, I only give them a stinger, and we would collapse on our opponent during the retake, giving us a 3-round lead. So in a desperate effort, our opponent decides to slam B. Keep in mind they have a double sentinel comp.
Wait, Tuka, right side. Yeah, that's all. He's dead. Oh, nice!
The very next round is kind of the same. The enemy just rushes A. Now mind you, Clove hits a very nice shot on me, but it wasn't enough as my team cleans out this round with little to no problems. And guess what the enemy does in round 8? If you said rush A and lose, you'd be wrong. They did rush A, but they actually won this time. We just lost all of our duels. And our enemy seeing this decided that rushing is now the play for attack, so they slam B. But there has been one player on B who's been waiting for this moment.
All of them side. Backside, taking a fight.
Last player standing.
One copy.
All of them side.
Backside speaking.
One enemy remaining.
That ace was super clean, but we don't actually have a ton of money left over. So it's because of this that we decided a trap would be our best chance of winning. The idea is to use our Waylay ult and Teho missiles to force the enemy into bad fights. The missiles will contain them in short, and since they are all slowed, we should be able to clean up the round. And although I swung way earlier than I was supposed to, I still managed to get a free kill, and the enemy would just run out to try and salvage the round, but it wasn't enough. And with this odd wall placed near short, I used the cover to dump utility on the fade.
He's stunned.
One enemy.
On me. Full blind and stunned. Okay, bro.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, bro.
I can't lie, I'm a little bit salty with how I died there, but whatever. For the last round of the half, our opponent rushes B again. And with our game plan being to flood the site with our Teo's ultimate, we do just that, even if it means running through a grenade.
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
I didn't know I was there. Hold down.
Ready?
Planning.
Worth it. But we are now on the harder half of attack, and we start the pistol round down 2 players. Surely we couldn't win this round, right? Our opponent wouldn't throw away such a lead, right? It's now a 2 versus 2.
5 seconds.
They smoked up bomb.
Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
No.
Oh, 78.
They in fact did not throw away the round. What were you expecting? Anyway, we have a good go at the next round, but we can't deal with the enemy's better weapons, so we lose as expected. And as you probably figured, we win the next round since we have the better weapons. So with the game now at a score of 10-5, we know that this isn't over. We would understand better than anyone that a lead like this isn't guaranteed. So we make a plan. We want to pressure into hookah, making sure we break the Cypher strips. This will likely trigger the enemy to throw some supportive utility through the teleporter, but since we don't intend on hitting B, this won't be an issue. In fact, this will mean our opponent will have less utility to hold back the real hit through A short. And this plan works perfect. We break the utility, raise nades through the teleporter, and we hit A with only 1 death, which I quickly trade. And although this round does end up becoming a 2 versus 2, my Clove is able to clean it up. We are now 2 rounds away from the grand finals. So we decide to go for the same play in the next round. But our opponent is getting desperate, so they just begin to walk down lanes without any utility or support. This led to Sage getting 2 kills, which with the bomb down means that the round is effectively over. But our Clove does a great job to damage their economy despite the round being finished. And this round would be very important later on, but for now, we go for a simple B hit, and it works wonders. We even set up a triple hold on the Cypher to finish out the round, which means we are now on match point. We are a single round from the grand finals. And do you remember when I said, but our Clove does a great job to damage their economy despite the round being finished, and this round would be very important later on. Well, that damage meant that our opponent had to buy 2 guns last round, meaning they are completely broke now. So with that knowledge in mind, we choose to take the fight to them, securing our spot in the grand finals.
Wait, one backside.
Running backside.
You know, just one
Leopard
elbow
TP,
drop.
hookah.
So normally I talk about how devastating a round loss like this would be, but not this time, because my Waylay would get an ace, and we would win this game 13-7, putting us in the grand finals. The best player in this game was my Clove, Nathaniel. He stayed composed the entire game, and every time we were about to throw away a free round, he was the player to close it out. And since we finished our games relatively fast, we had to wait for the other 2 teams to finish theirs, and it was the team named Melting Point that made it to the grand finals. Unlike the last 2 matches, we know nothing about this team. These games will be a shot in the dark. If we're going to win this grand final in and earn ourselves the rarest gun buddy in Valorant, we are going to need to play our game. So just like the last 2 map bans, we get rid of Haven. Before the bans even started, each team had about 5 minutes to take a break, and Melting Point used this time to see what maps we had played, and so they banned Bind. We choose to get rid of Pearl right away. We want to try and push for Split. Melting Point banned Sunset. They also had a bad week on that map. Our final ban is Corrode, leaving Abyss and Split as the final 2 options. Melting Point picks Abyss. It's not ideal, but we'll just have to make do with what we got. And with the choice of side, we choose Attack for map 1 of the grand finals. This map starts off with a mid take on our end. The idea is to get me set up in a bottom mid from the rope over towards B. In order to keep me safe while I make my way to the rope, my Astra will place a star here. If the enemy pushes, she stuns. If there's no contact, she can recall it once I'm safe. And once I'm up the rope, we can take mid with 2 smokes and a dart. But if the enemy has decided to fight mid, I'll be in the perfect position to punish since my team will be in the primary focus of the opponent. In this opening round, that's exactly what happens, and I'm able to get 2 kills on the pushed up duelists right before dying to Sova since I accidentally jumped. But despite these 2 kills, we are still down in a 2 versus 3. It is up to my Chamber and Astra to try and salvage this round.
One spawn.
He saw us.
Nice, huge. Look heaven. Look heaven.
We have a pulse stun.
Last player standing.
Flank, 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 flank.
One enemy remaining.
Oh my god!
The jump timing.
With a bit of a sketchy clutch, we win the round, and we buy up to secure the second. And it starts off with Sova taking a 1v1 against me. I'm not really sure why he thought that was a good fight, and I would end up cleaning the round with another kill. But this second round actually had a lot more going on than you might think. Last round, I got 2 kills and died to the Sova. That means I have 3 ultimate points. This round, I killed Sova, grabbed the A orb, killed Astra, and planted the bomb right before the round ended, meaning I now have 7 out of my 8 ult points. Now, did this end up mattering in round 3? No, we didn't make a plan out of my ults, so we would lose the round. But the way that we lost matters a ton. After my death, this round eventually turns into a 1 versus 4, but my Chamber managed to kill not 1, not 2, but 3 players, which means our opponent will have a much weaker buy coming into round 4. And we would win this pretty cleanly with some nice shots from my Sova. And this round would give us a bunch of money, so we were able to pull out an offensive operator, which made winning the post plant simple. And now that we are in round 6, I finally get to use my ultimate. Okay, I know the fact that I haven't used this for 3 rounds straight is really bad. I may have been dead first 3 times in a row, but anyway, here's the plan. I'm going to use my ult down mid to split into B. With our Harbor ult online, he will use it on any player I see. Since Harbor's ult now is just a massive paranoia that slows you, it will force our opponent to do one of 2 things. They can tank the ultimate, getting deafened and flashed, risking that I might be able to get a completely free kill, or the second option is to dodge the ult by swinging into main, right into our op. In this round, the Chamber chooses to swing into the op, which meant that we were able to get the bomb down for free, and we would close out this post plant, leaving the score at 5-1. With a ton of momentum on our side, we figured that an A-slam would be a good switch of tempo. Unfortunately for us, however, our opponent thought the exact same thing.
No noise, no noise. I'm gonna walk up and go.
Take flight.
2 popping.
Okay, that trap was pretty good. But now that their Sova ult was used, we decided to just go for it again and slam the A site. After getting the bomb down, we decided to fall back into A main to play a heavy post plant. But against the Astra ult, is this really a good idea? The answer is no. And despite my Sova's best efforts, we lose this round. The last 3 rounds have been super fast paced, and we've only won when we went to the B site. It's time to change things up. We're going to do the exact same play as the pistol round, with the only difference being that we will drone B main at the start. But why? Well, since Chamber has an operator and he's very likely playing B or mid this round, we want to find him through process of elimination. If the drone sees him at B, great. I can freely take my fights and lurk up to top mid. If he's not B, we can pretty safely assume he's mid, and we can just switch up the plan by hitting B. This would work out really well, and I managed to insert myself into top mid, where I can pressure towards A with my clone before doubling back to B, where I would end up catching the Chamber by surprise. And we were once again able to close out the B post plant, with a pretty nice spray down for my Sova. And this half would end up being quite good, mostly off of the back of my Chamber, as the offensive op was seemingly too much for our opponent to handle. But this strong half was no thanks to me. For context, let me show you how I got my kill in the very last round of the half.
You got bomb.
Oh my god, I lived.
Not so surprisingly, we lost this round. But with the defensive half around the corner, I wanted to redeem myself. Not for any particular round, but for my generally bad performance. And I want to pull out a play that has never failed me. In week 2 of Premier, I walked down mid in almost half of the rounds, and this play has never failed me on the pistol round. The idea is to double smoke mid off rip and walk down mid with my knife in hand. This is a timing a lot of teams simply aren't prepared for, and it shows as I usually shoot a player in the back of the head. So I go for it once again. And well,
I'm out.
That's good.
This play hasn't failed me once, and today it doesn't again, and I would get another kill after teleporting back to B heaven. And these 2 kills would lead to us winning the pistol round, extending our lead. With our newly bought weapons, we should have an easy time cleaning up in round 2. To start off, you can immediately see the value a Yoru provides as I set up in top mid with a teleport in B heaven. If the enemy goes A, I can rotate super fast since I'm already in top mid. If the enemy goes mid, I can have the support of my Sova and Harbor to look for a kill, mainly because all these angles are long ranged and I have a better weapon. And if the enemy decided to rush B, I can just teleport over, instantly reinforcing the site. This round starts off with a little noise towards A, so I begin to rotate. But the moment I see the B trip activate, I teleport over to help my chamber. It ends up just being the enemy Yoru, but I'm eventually able to sneak up on him and secure the kill. So now up in a 5 versus 4 with stronger weapons. Surely this round is ours, right?
Fake that. Wait, what? Behind it, wrapping you spawn.
Sova in main.
Mid player dead.
He's up.
In our spawn. Blind.
Kill him.
Last player standing.
You have flash? 83, he's dinked.
Nice!
That round was a lot closer than it should have been, but we closed it out regardless, giving us a 10-4 lead. But remember, we've come back from a 4-10 deficit before. This game is not over. With worse weapons in hand, I go for the same play as the pistol round, but our opponents fight us with a flash and dart, so I was forced to teleport away. While dropping to the B site, Astra peeks me from main, and I use my flash to secure a kill with a nice flick. But this wouldn't amount to anything. We'd still lose the round regardless. Now that both teams have equal weapons, I call for the same setup as round 14. Me and top mid with fast rotations to A and B. But this time, our opponent decides to fight mid. But 3 of us would end up dying, only getting a kill on the Yoru to show for it, and we would lose the round. And since we spent all of our money that round, we would lose the next one flawlessly. So with all the momentum, our opponent rushes the A site while I walk down mid, and I use my ult to scout for the enemy's play. After seeing 3 players main, I realize my job is to be a thorn in their side. I managed to kill Astra with little to no problem, and I wait for my Harbor's ult to connect before pushing up. But for whatever reason, my movement was terrible, and I would die without getting a second. But with the Cove up, my Harbor sticks the bomb through the Sova ult. I managed to stall Sova just long enough for us to win the round, and my Harbor was really smart in just sticking the bomb the whole way. Now that we have killed our opponent's momentum, I go for a mid walk again. Not to flank, but just to hold for some deep space. But unfortunately, Chamber had other plans for me. Luckily, my Harbor does great in trading me in mid, and this would end up being a 3 versus 3, where my Chamber had to hold down the B site with an operator. But this was no problem. He got 2 kills, and we would come out of this round on match point. Just one more round, and we will be a single game away from victory. And our opponent will need to win 5 straight to even bring this to overtime. A very hard task, but not impossible. The enemy rushes A. We make it close, but they win the team fight and spawn. They are now 4 rounds away. We have bad weapons in the very next round, and the enemy rushes A again. We didn't stand a chance. They are 3 rounds away. We take a timeout. The last 2 rounds, the enemy has gotten a kill on site, and our retake has always been a player down. We call to give up more space on site and play a full 5-man retake. To make sure we don't have 0 space on the map, we make the plan to walk down and fight for mid.
They just did a bunch of recalls. I'm actually gonna walk. I'm walking.
That's on. I'm blind.
We get 2 kills. It's now a 5 versus 3 on the retake, but unfortunately, we give bad 1v1s. The enemy is taking the fights to us, and we can't handle it. We lose the round. The enemy is 2 away. With worse weapons again, we try to make something happen with an A-trap, but I'm forced to teleport away with 25 HP to my name. We get picked off 1 at a time, so we lose another round. The enemy is now a single round away. We have 1 more chance. With 4 ultimates in hand, we make a call. Our opponent will rush one of A or B. We will give them the entire site and play a full retake. We have been stockpiling these ults for the last 4 rounds. Now is the last chance we will get to use them.
Yeah, they're hitting. I have my ult for the retake. Nice kill. Yeah, we should fast flood here.
Let's chill now.
Nice. Chill now.
Calm down.
Nice. I'm ulting in.
I'm dropping. Ulti under contact. Default. Both be hit. Yeah, I'm jumping through. Shoot main. Nice, boys.
A flawless final round. We have just won the first game of the grand finals, and there is one player who took us over the line. My chamber player Seth with 33 kills. And although individual performance isn't the only thing that matters when it comes to impact in a game, sometimes you get a performance like this. With Abyss now complete, we begin the next set of map bans. But this time, we get to choose the map. We get to ban first. We choose Haven. Our opponent bans next. They choose Sunset. We now choose to ban our worst map. Pearl is gone. Knowing that we've already won on Bind twice, they ban it. The final choice is between Corrode and Split, but we already knew what we wanted from the beginning. We choose Split, and pretty unsurprisingly, Melting Point chose defense. With the entire season on the line, our opponent makes a choice I was simply not ready for. They locked in Reyna. Their only path to victory is to out-aim us, but we've got a plan for the pistol round. Our goal is to use our Tejo missile, raise satchels, and Sky Flash to take a ramp super fast. At the same time, we will throw this smoke in heaven. Once we have thrown this utility, me and Tejo will rotate back into mid. This is where the real setup begins. Once we're in mid, our Raze will begin to look for a fight into vent, which we can then support with the second Tejo missile while scaling up into mid. And once Raze has regrouped with us, we can go for a simple B split with 4 people going heaven. In testing, we've learned that the best way to stop this is by counterfighting ramps after all the utility. But with no real way to refight ramps with their comp, we should be fine. I say should be fine because we never actually accounted for our opponent using their Sage wall off rip and aim, which completely isolated our Raze. The second thing I wasn't prepared for was the enemy to just run me down. The moment I broke the Sage wall, I made my way over to mid, but the enemy decided to just run it down A, isolating a fight in sewers to take a huge advantage, winning them the round. With worse weapons, we would end up in a 2 versus 3, with both of our players super low on HP. A nearly unwinnable situation.
We got normal gun.
Wait, Fade? I had like straight.
Right, run B. Or run A.
Enemy remaining.
Oh, you're him. I'm going A.
Yes.
Last player standing.
And 2.
You know what? Although we didn't actually end up winning that round, cracks are showing in their gameplay, and I feel like the Reyna pick is a huge reason as to why. They lack a ton of information. I mean, look at what me and Raze do in round 3. We just walked all the way through A site with 0 resistance, and unsurprisingly, we won the round. But this Reyna pick isn't always bad necessarily. In round 4, Reyna caught a good timing, which led to my Raze getting killed. And when I went for the trade, I got one-tapped, losing us this round on the spot. And round 5 would begin in disaster, as me and my Raze both tunnel vision on the ramp player, dying to the Omen in A main. But our Tejo would trade us out right away. Knowing that our opponent had the Sage res online, my Tejo waited with his missiles ready, securing a 3rd kill on the res player. And while retreating back to rotate B, he would kill 1 more, and we would win this round as a result, which meant that our opponent had worse weapons coming into round 6. But that doesn't mean it was a free round. Far from it, in fact. We would end up in a 3 versus 2 post plant, the type of round that should be easy to win.
Main.
One enemy remaining.
I lived.
He's all.
Time. It's planet open in the corner. Half.
Last player standing.
Nice!
Bryce.
I have been playing terrible this game, but I was still able to win us this round in the end, even if it wasn't clean at all. And these 3 kills meant a lot to me in the moment, because before this, I had 0 kills in the last 5 rounds. So getting 3, despite them being mostly body shots, still did help my confidence. And this led to me being less scared to go for fight, like when my Raze died on A, making me flash through the smoke to look for a trade. And this round would come down to 1 versus 1, but we couldn't close it out, putting the lead back into our opponent's hands. And they would extend this lead by rushing us in B main, where me and my Omen would go down to a Bucky. Well, we didn't actually end up losing this round, as our Tejo would be able to close it out with a brutal post plant, using the Mistle and Ultimate to win the 1v1, keeping the game tied at 4 apiece. And in the next round, we would end up in a 3 versus 3 with the bomb planted for heaven.
CT1 for sure.
I've nade for bomb.
Wait, how?
Some CT.
That's all I got.
Nade for bomb.
And
He
Raze
has
ult
ult
next.
now, he's ult now.
Oh, no.
One enemy remaining.
Nice!
With the lead in hand, we want to try and get a big sight hit going, but instead of rushing, we want to pull the enemy towards heaven and vents, and we have the perfect tools to do so. When hitting B, we would typically want to use our Raze nade and both salvos to make playing on the site a nightmare, but we also want to save these missiles for the post plant. So what can we do? Well, we could use our Tejo drone as the first line of information, saving our missiles in the process. But if we want to pull players away from site into mid, wouldn't we want to use our drone there? The answer is yes, but we don't need to use the Tejo drone since we also have a Sky Dog. So we can use the dog to pressure mid, which will then make the B site a little weaker. And since we no longer have a dog, I can act as a secondary entry, almost like I'm a Phoenix. And the site hit went exactly to plan, as the drone was able to spot Omen and take his teleports away, allowing me to secure an easy kill. And we would win in the post plant with our Viper's Pit. In the last round of the half, our opponent took a timeout, so we called for an A rush, which they were super ready for. I guess we had the wrong read. With the start of the second half, a pistol round win would be massive for us, as it would put us 4 rounds ahead. But if we were to lose, we would end up being tied after the bonus round. With our double initiator comp, refighting mid is super strong, but the enemy's Sage wall complicates things, and this mid refight would crumble, losing us the pistol round. With far weaker weapons, we think a trap is the only way we can win this round, and we think mid is the best option. If the enemy rushes into mid, we will try to trap them before they can put up the wall and vents. My flash will come around the vent corner, blinding everyone in mid and pushing them into these positions. At the same time, my Tejo will missile both corners to capitalize on this flash, and we will all fight mid as a team, with an Omen smoke coming in late to cover us after the initial fight. So, how does this play out?
Just smoking mid.
Yep, 3, 2, 1.
Back up, back up, back up.
Although I'm now 1 HP, this went perfectly. But with worse weapons, we would still need to play together and hit our shots. This round isn't over.
I'm gonna back up. I'm gonna make noise backing up.
Huge man advantage now, dog. Right there.
There's concussed.
Nice!
I have been playing really bad this game, but these 2 kills have brought my confidence back, and we just took what should be a free round from our opponents. The next round goes as planned as we win with better guns. We are taking confident refights when down a player, or when we need space, and although nobody has ramps in this round, and we'd actually end up losing as our opponent would just run us down, this playstyle is what we want. This is the playstyle that can win us this game, but our opponent just keeps on rushing us. No plan, just fighting. And we would end up in a 5 versus 3 retake as the enemy race just runs it down in heaven with no map control.
Yep, go for it.
Running elbow now.
Hell.
I'm
Back,
stuck.
back, and
Hell
hell.
side, guys, hell side.
He's
Elbow
Picking up, picking up.
I'm holding. Hold. Getting on.
Last player standing.
Nice, Will.
That was too close for comfort, but the only reason it came down to the wire was because we took bad 1v1s. We're gonna need to clean up the retake if we want to win this map. And although I am a big reason these rounds are getting way too close for comfort, I still feel confident on this defensive half. And knowing that I am fully alone on A, I decided to hold a tight angle, giving myself the ability to escape as needed. And this would work perfectly as I secure a kill on Raze, turning this into a favorable retake. And with the enemy taking ramp space, we go for a reclear again, and we catch the Fade all alone. This triggers me to use my Sky ult to find the remaining players. But this round got close as I ended up being alone on site against the Reyna. But with the Sky Dog in hand, I look to stall for my teammate. But I hear Reyna going wide on my left, so I use my dog to stun him, knowing that I was tucked far enough into cover, and I secure the kill. We are now on match point. No, we are on series point. Everything has been leading up to this. 7 weeks of matches, 14 games, 311 rounds of Valorant. Every win, every loss. It's all led to this. Our opponent rushes the A site again. It's a 5 versus 5 retake.
One wing map.
One is close ramps.
Wait, let me just toggle.
They're ready to fight ramp, guys.
Let my dog go first. They
walled it.
What's clear? Watch out the wall, peeking. Done.
On
Dead.
the wall. Heal me.
Dead. Multi.
Double fight CT.
Double screen set.
Flash again.
I'm ulting it.
One more. Raise.
Oh my god, one chance.
After 7 weeks of competing, we have officially won the contender division. And there is one player I still need to give credit to. My Tejo player and IGL, Tyler. He both topped the scoreboard and called an incredible final map. And with this win, we have earned ourselves the rarest item in Valorant. But that's not all. Our team name is the Aquarium. So what better reward than bubbles around our banner to show off our win? This was an incredible run through the contender division. But more than that, I am so grateful that I have been able to document this journey with all of you. And if you want more content like this, subscribe. I don't plan on stopping anytime soon.